right field, number 16.
Two top teams led by two fearsome hitters grace the field at Busch Stadium tonight. Manny Ramirez has had a tumultuous season, but he's hitting .336, and the Dodgers have the best record in all of baseball. Albert Pujols is making a run at the Triple Crown, and he has powered the Cardinals into contention in the NL Central. And now the Cards superstar has an improved supporting cast with the recent pickup of Matt Holliday. It's the Dodgers and the Cardinals next on Monday Night Baseball. ESPN Monday Night Baseball, presented by Holiday Inn. Welcome to Busch Stadium here in downtown St. Louis as a couple of contending teams open up what figures to be a pivotal four-game series. The Dodgers with the best record in the National League and all of baseball, in fact, taking on the Cardinals here at Busch. And the Cardinals, even with the pickups, they've actually lost 5 of their last 7. They sit a half game back of the surging Cubs now for top spot in the National League Central. The Dodgers have had the best record in all of baseball for a couple of months and still hold what appears to be a comfortable 8-game lead over the Rockies for top spot in the National League West. Hi, everybody. Dan Shulman with you here in St. Louis and with my usual partners in Oral Hershiser and Steve Phillips, but they are not in the booth. They are down at field level tonight. We're going to try to give you a unique perspective. Oral's outside one dugout. Steve is outside another dugout to try to let us see the game from field level. Oral, what are you looking for tonight?
Well, down here on the St. Louis side, of course, I'm going to see what's going on behind me with Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan. And then watching Albert Pujols play first base is going to be outstanding to see a big man with his footwork and the trajectory of Randy Wolf and Chris Carpenter on their angle of their pitches. What do you got on your side over there with the Dodgers, Steve?
On the third base side, I've got a front row seat for Manny Ramirez going to and from the Dodgers dugout out to left field and how the fans are going to treat him. Plus, I want to see the decision-making of the most aggressive third base coach in baseball in Larry Bowa. And with Tony La Russa, there's always a chance for a squeeze play. I want to watch Jose Oquendo and his communication with the runners on third base. A lot going on over here on the third base side.
Definitely. Looking forward to the perspective that Oral and Steve will bring us tonight. When you do a Cardinals game, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Albert Pujols. And as we mentioned off the top of the show, he is making potentially a run at the Triple Crown, which nobody has done in baseball since Carl Yastrzemski in 1967. No National Leaguer has done it since the Cardinals' own Joe Medwick back in 1937. And Oral now, after a couple of trades, most recently Matt Holliday coming over, now Albert Pujols has even more help.
Well, if this is the missing piece, it's a big piece. From 2006 to 2008, 3-time All-Star, 3 Silver Slugger awards. In 07, second in the MVP voting. So this guy can really swing the bat. Didn't get off to the best start in Oakland this year, but by his own admission, 2 weeks before the All-Star break, started to find his timing, his swing path, and his confidence is back. And now being enthused with his energy from the St. Louis crowd in the first home game, look for Matt Holliday to really protect Albert Pujols in a big way.
And as big a factor as Albert Pujols is in the Cardinal lineup is as big a factor as Manny Ramirez is in the Dodger lineup. Of course, Manny got off to a great start this year as the Dodgers got off to such a great start as a team, but then Manny Ramirez got suspended for 50 games for violating baseball's drug policy. He started what turned into a controversial minor league rehab assignment in late June, was reinstated by MLB after the 50 games and returned to the Dodgers in early July and has been very hot since returning, among other things passing Mickey Mantle on the all-time home run list and hitting a pinch hit grand slam on his own bobblehead night. Earlier this week, Steve, it looks like Manny Ramirez hasn't skipped a beat.
Well, no question about it. 15th all-time in home run, 19th all-time in RBIs. Before the suspension, hitting .348. Since then, hitting .316, and the power numbers are there as well. You see the 5 home runs. He's slugging more coming back from the suspension from the drug policy than he was before the suspension. It's the trade deadline deal the Dodgers made. It's Manny Ramirez just coming back to the lamp. It matches what the St. Louis Cardinals did with Matt Holliday and Mark DeRosa.
So we've got Albert Pujols, we've got Manny Ramirez, we've got Steve and Oral down at field level, perched outside each dugout, and we've got a quality pitching matchup as well tonight as they open up this 4-game series. For the Dodgers, veteran left-hander Randy Wolf, just 5-4, but with a very good ERA, takes on one of the best in all of baseball in Cardinal righty Chris Carpenter.
ESPN Monday Night Baseball is presented by Holiday Inn. Stay 8 nights and score 2 MLB tickets. And in part by One-A-Day Men's 50-Plus Advantage. Get more of what matters to you.
Welcome back to St. Louis. A gorgeous summer evening here at Busch Stadium as the Dodgers and Cardinals open up a 4-game series, the beginning of a week-long road trip for the Dodgers and a week-long homestand for the St. Louis Cardinals. If you're just joining us, Dan Schulman here in the booth, Oral Hershiser and Steve Phillips down at field level, each outside one dugout to give us a different perspective on the game tonight. Sure to be a lot of interesting stuff that they can see and hear down there that they will pass along to all of you. Joe Torre, loving life as the manager of the LA Dodgers, and why not? The best record in all of baseball for the Dodgers and an 8-game lead in the National League West, and one of the best offenses in the National League as well, as we look at Joe Torre's lineup presented by Jack Daniels. And Steve, when Matt Kemp is hitting 8th in your lineup, you know you're pretty strong.
Well, averaging 5 runs per game, good for 3rd best in the National League, and arguably the best number 8 hitter in all of baseball. .314 batting average, ranked 9th in the National League, driving and runs, also the real speed threat. And look for that in the 8-hole in the lineup that Joe Torre will have him running.
And Oral, when you talk about true number ones, an ace, a horse, a guy you can count on every 5 days, Chris Carpenter was on a short list of the very best in baseball.
Yeah, he's right up there with Roy Halladay, and we know what that sweepstakes is about with Philadelphia and LA possibly in that equation. But Chris Carpenter, after 2 1/3 innings tonight, 102, he will start to qualify for the pitcher's ERA title at 2.26, definitely in the top 1 or 2. And he's going to be out there against this Dodger lineup that is a very offensive lineup, a productive lineup that has quality at bats. But they can be aggressive, and Carpenter will be very aggressive in the strike zone.
Defensively for the Cardinals tonight, the new left fielder is Matt Holliday. This is his first home game for St. Louis, his 4th game overall as a Cardinal. Rick Ankiel is in center field tonight. Ryan Ludwig, who's been very hot, is in right field tonight for the Cardinals. Another one of the recent acquisitions, Mark DeRosa, settling in as the everyday 3rd baseman for the Cardinals. Brendan Ryan has been playing some outstanding defense at short. Julio Lugo gets a start at 2nd base tonight, has also played short since coming to the Cardinals. And Albert Pujols, of course, is at first. And the man who just about everybody agrees is the best defensive catcher in all of baseball, Yadier Molina, will be behind the plate tonight catching Chris Carpenter. Matt Holliday grew up in Oklahoma, and his quote before the game was, "I was kind of a Cardinal fan." He said Ozzie Smith was his favorite player, although he was the furthest thing from the shortstop. And the St. Louis fans, of course, so passionate, so knowledgeable. They are up giving Matt Holliday a standing ovation down in the left field seats already, trying to get him warmed up to the city. Of course, so many players love playing here in St. Louis because of the connection that the fans and the team have had over the years. Just about ready to get underway here as the Dodgers and Cardinals. Kind of has an October feel when you look at the pitching matchups as well, with Billingsley and Kershaw the next couple of nights for the Dodgers, Wainwright and Pinheiro the next couple of nights for the Cardinals, and who knows, these two teams could meet come October. Rafael Furcal will lead it off. First pitch, bouncer down to Pujols, 1 out. Well, Chris Carpenter, Oral, as you said, he will pound the strike zone. He will get ground balls. He has become such a complete pitcher compared to his early days in Toronto.
Yeah, when you talk about the ground ball, his ground ball to air out ratio is 1.5 over his career, but this year 1.83, really concentrating on the bottom half of that strike zone, which is very much Dave Duncan, the pitching coach's style.
6:11 is Central Time. An early start here locally. Time of the first pitch tonight. 84 degrees at game time as Orlando Hudson, the Dodgers second baseman, steps in. Signed just before spring training to a 1-year deal. The switch hitter's hitting almost 300 and one of the best defensive second basemen in all of baseball. He's a 3-time Gold Glover. And Steve, if you don't hear Orlando Hudson within 3 seconds of walking into the clubhouse, he's not in the clubhouse, right?
Well, you know, they brought him in for what he could do offensively and what he could do defensively, but also for his energy. And we walked into the clubhouse today, and he was chirping with Matt Kemp and James Loney. They had a great conversation going on in there, and he keeps everybody loose.
Affectionately known as the O-Dog, he takes down an in, a ball and 2 strikes. Former Blue Jay and Diamondback, and a guy you would think the Dodgers are very interested in retaining beyond this year. On deck, Manny Ramirez, who, as we showed you off the top, has been swinging the bat very well since returning from his suspension earlier this month. Outside, 2-2 on Hudson.
I think one of the things we're going to keep an eye on here is Manny Ramirez in the on-deck circle watching Chris Carpenter face Orlando Hudson. Is Now, Carpenter's very efficient with his pitches, but I think a lot of it's because hitters try to hit him early in the count to try to get his fastball before they see the curveball.
Yeah, the great thing about his year this year, too, that curveball is outstanding, but the slider has really gotten sharp and big for me, and so now he has two weapons where he can throw that curveball for a strike, and that's out of the high slot, and then that slider out of a slot that looks like a fastball for a strike, and he gets him to chase.
2-2, and he just missed the inside corner. There's that two-seam fastball, Oral, that he tried to bring back over the corner.
Well, you know, Greg Maddux will go in the Hall of Fame soon, and we've talked a lot about Hall of Fame. He invented this pitch, almost makes it all the way back. In the olden days, they used to say you can't pitch those lefties low and in or up and in, but I'll tell you what, I love that comeback pitch. You get that flinch, those hips get out, and I don't see how a hitter can attempt to swing at it when he's flinching like that.
Carpenter shaking off Molina a couple of times as Hudson stares out to the mound, and the 3-2 is fouled back.
You know, one of the things you see down here at field level is watching the infielders as Chris Carpenter starts to get set with his delivery and go to the plate with a pitch, how the infielders have their movement in preparation for the pitch so that their feet are landing at the ground in preparation for the pitch crossing the plate. To be able to get that jump with the ball off the bat as quickly as they can. They're looking into Yadier Molina and how he's calling the pitch. They want to know what pitch is coming in. And then they may lean a little bit, may take a step a little bit to try to get an edge on the jump to where the hitter may hit the ball.
Ninth pitch coming in the at-bat, and it's just outside for ball 4, and that's a rarity for Carpenter. Just the 17th walk he's given up in 100 innings this year. Now Manny will hear it from the St. Louis fans. Actually a louder negative reaction to Manny Ramirez than he's gotten in some other visiting ballparks. Manny hitting over 300 with power since he's come back. He has played in only 45 games this year. He's got 37 RBIs. Didn't play yesterday. Was hit on the left hand by a pitch back on Tuesday. It's still sore. As he swings to the first pitch, down to third. DeRosa to second for one. On to first for the inning-ending double play. DeRosa to Lugo to Pujols, two of the new Cardinals getting involved defensively as Manny Ramirez rounds into a double play to end the inning. The Cardinals coming up when we come back to Busch. And we're back here at Busch Stadium. Just about everybody in red, but the odd blue jersey and cap around the ballpark. The Dodgers with a lot of fans and the best record in all of baseball. As we go to the bottom of the first, and we check out the lineup that Tony La Russa has penciled in tonight, presented by Jack Daniels.
Well, the Cardinals offense has struggled a little bit, which is why they made the move. But one of the guys they're looking to get the job done is Ryan Ludwig. Moved from the 4th spot in the lineup to the 5th spot with Matt Holliday coming in. The last 17 games, he's been on fire.
And Oral on the mound, a veteran left-hander in Randy Wolf. What can you tell us?
Well, he's always in the game, keeps the team in the game, a workhorse. Lefties are only hitting .097 off him, and there's only one in the lineup, Rick Ankiel, down in the 8-hole. So the Cardinals are adjusting there with all their right-handed hitters against him today.
And Tony La Russa is adjusting with 3 new players. Mark DeRosa a few weeks ago, and as of just a few days ago, Matt Holliday, and the man in the batter's box right now, Julio Lugo, who came over from the Boston Red Sox. Lugo had actually been designated for assignment and wound up being dealt from Boston to St. Louis for Chris Duncan, the outfielder and the son of St. Louis pitching coach Dave Duncan. Duncan was then sent down to AAA Pawtucket by the Red Sox. And all Lugo has done in his first 3 games as a Cardinal is go 8 for 14. He and Matt Holliday both hit like crazy in the weekend series against the Phillies, although the Cardinals did lose 2 out of 3. 0-2 from Wolf, just off the outside corner. So it's not often when you get 3 players, and Holliday and DeRosa figure to be everyday guys. Lugo has been thus far. But 3 players that Tony La Russa can write into his lineup. This is a much different team than it was a month ago. And also with Ludwig coming back from injury and getting hot.
Well, you know, it's a general manager's dream come true when you make trades and bring players in to help your team down the stretch. And they go 4 for 5 in their first game like Matt Holliday had, and they're 8 for 14 like Julio Lugo is. I mean, that is a complete reinforcement for the deal that you made, both to the fans and to the clubhouse and the manager.
1-2 pitch looped into right center field, and over to make the catch out of the sunlight out there is Matt Kemp for out number 1. As we set the defense for the Dodgers for you, it'll be Manny Ramirez in left, Matt Kemp, who just made the catch in center, but Andre Ethier manning right field. The steady and reliable Casey Blake at third, Rafael Furcal at short, three-time Gold Glover Orlando Hudson at second, and James Loney sure-handed at first base. Russell Martin behind the plate, catching Randy Wolf. We are scoreless in the bottom of the first here in St. Louis. There's another fairly new Cardinal, Mark DeRosa. Unfortunately for DeRosa, just about as soon as he came over to the Cardinals, after only 3 games, he suffered a wrist injury, had to go on the DL, and apparently it still may require surgery after the season, but he's going to try to play through it. And he has started swinging the bat with a lot of authority, has 4 home runs in the last week.
Well, he's always had sneaky power. He's a strong young man. When he was a platoon player in Atlanta, he didn't get enough at bats to have the power come, but ever since he's become a regular, the power has gone on, up and up.
And Steve, everybody kept saying that he would be a perfect Tony La Russa kind of guy because you can hit him anywhere, you can play him anywhere, and Tony La Russa really values those kinds of players.
Versatility both on offense and on defense, and Tony likes to work the matchups, and that is where he slots guys in the lineup. And because DeRosa can play first, second, third, left field, real value for Tony La Russa.
And he just got hit by that down and in slider. So runner at first with a 1 out. The first at bat of the night for Albert Pujols. Pujols has to be excited. And again, no disrespect, and he certainly wouldn't ever disrespect the likes of Ludwig, Molina, and so forth. But to add DeRosa and Holiday, DeRosa hitting right in front of him, Holiday hitting right behind him, it's a much deeper and more dangerous-looking Cardinal lineup now. And that could only help Albert Pujols, who coming into the game tonight has been intentionally walked 34 times this year. We'll see if that pace slows down now that Holiday is a Cardinal. Albert 5 for 14 without a home run in his career against Randy Wolf.
So you being down here on field level, you forget what the superstars have to deal with on a daily basis. As soon as Albert came out, all the calls from the fans and just pulling at him, and his concentration, especially hearing his name, wanting an autograph, and he's got to kind of segue between getting ready for the game and acknowledging the fans, and he has done that through the All-Star game, which he hosted.
And talking to some Cardinal folks about the All-Star game, Oral, they said that he did everything that was asked of him, which was an incredible amount of stuff. But Albert Pujols was exhausted after the All-Star break.
And coming out of the All-Star break, he did well for a little bit, but he's in a kind of a tailspin right now. But he's looking to break out of. He's starting to see the ball better, he says.
Of course, a Pujols tailspin is hitting 250 for a week, so
yeah,
that's not a bad week for a lot of major leaguers.
I'll tell you what, when Albert was down here and just watching the fans just clamor, Yadier Molina was the first one in the dugout down here, and he was getting yelled at, but he's trying to stay in his concentration, getting ready for Carpenter. And then when Albert came out, it was even bigger and louder and more distracting.
In the air to right field, but not deep. Sunlight still out in center field and right field as Ethier makes the catch, 2 down, and that will bring out Matt Holliday for his first at bat as a Cardinal here at Busch Stadium. Well, I don't care who you are or how many years you've played or what you're thinking about your impending free agency, Steve. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Well, let the recruiting begin.
Yep.
And the one thing that Cardinals fans know, what they just did there was marketing. That's marketing a city to a superstar, trying to say, we're glad you're here and we want to keep you beyond this season.
And there have been so many players over the last, say, 10, 15 years, from Mark McGwire to Larry Walker, players of that caliber who have come to St. Louis and have just fallen in love with playing in St. Louis. And Holliday's a free agent at the end of the season. He said before the game he's not going to even think about that until after the season. He's just focused on helping his team win right now. But it's got to be on his mind. I mean, we're all human, and you have to say what you have to say. But again, Holliday describing himself before the game as kind of a Cardinals fan growing up. So we'll see how it all plays out in the offseason. I think Cardinal fans are becoming kind of a Holiday fan after he's gone 7 for 11 in his first 3 games.
Well, even the columnists here were writing about it, telling the fans, if you want him, you better get on your feet. Because Scott Boras is his agent, and he's going to be looking. The Red Sox are going to be looking. The Yankees are going to be looking, and we're going to have to start marketing. So even the newspapers here are prompting the fans to win him over.
Got off to a very slow start with Oakland this year. Was swinging the bat very well the last couple of weeks before the trade, and swung the bat very well over the weekend as a Cardinal against the Phillies. Leaded first by DeRosa, and he draws the throw.
You know, guys, the other part of the Mark DeRosa trade, the Matt Holliday trade, isn't just the impact on the field, but it's also a statement to Albert Pujols, whose contract is due up in 2010, that they're willing to do what it takes to continue to win here in St. Louis, and a statement to the manager and pitching coach, Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan, who are free agents at the end of this year, that it's not all about young prospects, but they'll get the veteran players if it can help them win.
A team that went to the World Series in 2004, a team that won the World Series in 2006. They have not been back to the postseason since. And right now, John Mozeliak, the GM of the Cardinals, went out and got DeRosa, Lugo, and Holliday. Some now consider the Cardinals to be the favorites in the Central. Others still look at the Cubs. And, of course, you can't discount the Brewers or the Astros. It looks like it could be a great 4-team race.
What the Cardinals did was surprising, because I think there was a lot of thought that they were going to stick with their young players, and that seemed to be a rub between Tony La Russa and the front office, that they were stuck on their young guys. But you really have to credit Mo for the moves that he made to be aggressive and go out and get some veteran talent to come in, and to ownership, Mr. DeWitt, to spend the money. I think that was a question as well. I mean, in the offseason, they didn't have the money available for a lot of the free agents they were interested in, but the money was available at the deadline.
And Steve, of the 3 players Oakland got, the most notable of which is of whom is a third baseman named Brett Wallace, a great bat, but apparently the Cardinals weren't sure what position he would play, so maybe he projects better as an American League player.
I think that really does seem to make sense. He's a guy that really can swing the bat, and if you can hit, they'll find a place for you in the big leagues. The American League certainly does give you a little bit more options on what to do. I think likely a first baseman, though.
Center field and deep, and over the head of Kemp, off the base of the fence. DeRosa's getting the wave around third. Relay to the plate by Furcal. It's caught by Loney. The run will score, and back to second safely is Holliday.
Well, that's what you want right there. You see the ball, the little slider kind of break it in over the heart of the plate. Holliday does a good job staying behind it, going right back up the middle of the field, hitting against that front leg, driving it to center field. Matt Kemp playing it right off the wall. He kind of should have turned his body the other way. He fielded the ball a little bit off center. That little bit of a difference could have been a decision part of what happened at the plate. But, you know, from this side over here, you see Randy Wolf saying, yeah, you shouldn't have cut it. We might have play at home plate. But Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, sitting over here just beyond the Dodgers dugout on third base, knew right away that he was sending DeRosa. Just as DeRosa got to second base, he was going to wave him around and get him to score.
So an RBI double for Matt Holliday as Oquendo waves home DeRosa, and the Cardinals take a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the first. That'll bring up Ryan Ludwig, the right fielder, hitting over 400 his last 19 games.
So Holliday around second right here. He just kind of stumbles. Oh boy, he's ducking from the throw from Furcal, and when Loney cuts it off, Furcal tries. Orlando tried to sneak in back behind him, but the duck threw his stride off. He stumbled.
Now let me ask you guys, you used to watching the games most recently up here. As that ball was hit, Steve, let me start with you. What were you watching? What was the first thing you looked to from your vantage point down there?
For me, I saw Jose Oquendo. I mean, he quickly read that the ball was over Matt Kemp's head, and he was waving DeRosa right away to try to bring him around to score. Very aggressive with his decision making.
And Oral, what caught your eye on that play?
Well, I saw the swing and the follow through, and Holliday knew he hit it very, very well. And then Matt Kemp looked like he got a little bit of a late jump from here on this bench angle at first base. And I'll tell you what, when that ball deflected off center field, as an ex-player sitting on the bench, I thought DeRosa had no shot of scoring.
Again, Oral outside the first base dugout, the Cardinal side. Steve down at field level outside the Dodger dugout on the third base side. Both mercifully in the shade as this game begins tonight, with most of the sunlight out on the outfield right now. 1-0 St. Louis in the bottom of the first. And the 1-2 to Ludwig. A swing and a miss to end the inning. But the Cardinals take the lead. Matt Holliday makes himself right at home here in St. Louis with an RBI double. Cleared off ice at 7 Eastern. An American League East Division battle between the Yankees and Rays from St. Petersburg. And then Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. It'll be the Dodgers again down in Atlanta, taking on the resurgent Braves, who have won 7 of 10 and are in second place in the National League East. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. And it looks like that Sunday night game, Steve, you'll be there, a great pitching matchup. Chad Billingsley for the Dodgers, Jair Jurgens for the Atlanta Braves. Here's Andre Ethier, just today named the National League Player of the Week. Leading it off for the Dodgers, who trail 1-0 as we go to the second. A little pop-up at a shallow center field. Back goes Ryan, the shortstop, for out number 1.
You know, guys, over here in the third base dugout in the Los Angeles Dodgers dugout, you see the relay play coming to the plate. The throw by Rafael Furcal. James Loney cut it. And that ball, Russell Martin kind of puts his arms up in the air. I think they believe they had a chance to get him out at the plate. And there's Larry Boa, who coaches the infielders here, talking to James Loney, the first baseman, saying, look, if you don't hear anything, you can't cut the ball. Even if you think you can get the runner out at second base, he's trying to explain to him, look, you've got to listen for the call. And Russell Martin, the catcher, got involved in that conversation as well. So with all of the young players here in this Dodgers team, there's teaching that has to go on at the major league level, and they're going to make some youthful mistakes at times.
Yep, so many young players are such a key part of the Dodgers' success this year, including Martin and Loney and Ethier and Kemp. Here's one of the veterans. They brought this guy in a year ago, Casey Blake, and he has just quietly gone about his business on both sides of the ball, playing very well, driving in runs, and hitting up and down the lineup. And that's one thing, Oral, we've seen a lot from Joe Torre this year. Casey Blake's hit in 6 different spots in the lineup. Matt Kemp has hit in 6 different spots. Matt Kemp could hit 8th one night and 5th the next night, depending on what the matchup is with the opposing team.
Yeah, matching up and looking at some of the veterans. Casey Blake at 35. Most of these young Dodgers are anywhere from 24 to 27 years old, and when they move them around the lineup, sometimes because they're hot or they're cold, but Casey Blake can do anything, just kind of like Mark DeRosa and Julio Lugo with the Cardinals now, so they have that same flexibility on the other side.
Well, you go back to when Joe Torre managed the Yankees, and you know he really had a set lineup he played every day, but he had some length to his lineup, some depth, some threats, really 1 through 9. And what he's really fashioned here in Los Angeles is he doesn't bunch all of his good hitters together. They have 5 hitters in their lineup with 50 RBIs, but he spreads them out a little bit. We talk about Matt Kemp batting 8th, and it allows them to have length and have that ability to score every inning.
Sharply hit past a diving DeRosa into left field. A base hit for Blake. As we check in with Cindy Brunson for a Sports Center right now.
This Sports Center right now brought to you by Sprint. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell let quarterback Michael Vick know he's been reinstated to the league on a conditional basis and will be considered for full reinstatement by week 6. Vick is an unrestricted free agent. And according to the New York Daily News, Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig is considering lifting Pete Rose's lifetime suspension from baseball, but ESPN sources say Selig has not changed his thinking about Rose. Of course, Rose banned from baseball since 1989 for gambling. Guys, back to you.
All right, Cindy, thank you. And of course, if Pete Rose is reinstated, that does not in and of itself mean he gets into the Hall of Fame. It means he's eligible for the Hall of Fame. And at this point, it would be the Veterans Committee, which is comprised of living Hall of Famers, which would decide the fate of Pete Rose. And of course, our own Joe Morgan, a former teammate of Pete Rose in Cincinnati, was on record just a couple of days ago at the induction ceremonies as saying he thinks Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And if Pete Rose is reinstated, it is sure to create a passionate argument amongst baseball players, ex-players, and fans alike. James Loney lines a base hit into right field. Blake up to second, 2 on with 1 out for the Dodgers.
Well, 2 fastballs back to back that give this base hit and the other base hit to Casey Blake hit. That one on the outer half of the plate. K-Zone's got it down and away. A quality pitch, but Loney does a good job staying on that pitch. He's only got 7 home runs this year, but the young man has a great swing and the power will come. He did a very good job staying on that pitch and hitting a long drive and not grounding into a double play.
So the Dodgers down to 1-0 in the second are threatening here. And here's Russell Martin, who hit a home run yesterday against the Marlins, just his 3rd of the season. Now he hits a chopper towards short. Ryan to Lugo to Pujols, 2nd inning in a row that Chris Carpenter gets a double play to end the inning. One of the rarest things in Major League Baseball is a Triple Crown winner. It's only happened 4 times in National League history. Twice by the Cardinals, Rogers Hornsby back in the 20s. Once by Chuck Klein of the Phillies in 33. And most recently, this is National League history, most recently by the Cardinals, Joe Ducky Medwick in 1937. It is almost impossible to do. Albert Pujols has an outside shot this year. He currently leads the National League in both home runs and RBIs. His batting average has slipped a bit in the last few days down to 324. Hanley Ramirez leads the National League right now at 348. So some work to do for Albert Pujols. But Oral, even to be in the conversation, even to say a guy's got a shot at a Triple Crown means you're having one heck of a year.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You think about the home runs and the RBIs kind of run in combination. That's not as big a deal, the 2/3 of it. Then the batting title, and as a right-hander with Matt Holliday, you think the protection is going to help Albert Pujols.
Yadier Molina leading off the second. Amazing that Albert Pujols has never led the National League in either home runs or RBIs. He has won a batting title, and he has finished in the top 3 in all 3 Triple Crown categories in 2 previous seasons, so he could do that again. But if there's anybody out there who says somebody other than Pujols is the best player in baseball, we haven't been hearing from him lately. It seems almost universal now, Steve, that he is acclaimed as the top talent in the game.
I don't think there's any question about that. I think Alex Rodriguez was always in that discussion, but when you look at what Albert Pujols does offensively, and there's Manny, a lot of people love his bat, but more one-dimensional than a guy like Pujols. I mean, Albert Pujols has made himself into a Gold Glove caliber first baseman. He can steal a base. He comes up with the big runs. He's the face and voice of the organization. I mean, he does it all, and I think right now there is nobody better than him.
2-2 on Molina to lead off the second. 1-0 Cardinals. And Wolf jams him with a fastball. Just 89 miles an hour, but a very well located pop up to Furcal for out number 1. Well, as an example, how do Albert Pujols and Manny Ramirez compare since the beginning of the 2001 season? We'll get to that in a moment. This is the another great milestone that Albert Pujols has accomplished. Every year he's been in baseball. This is his 9th season. Each of the first 8 better than 300 average, 30 homers, and 100 RBIs. Lou Gehrig's the only player to ever do it more times, more consecutive times. He had 9 straight years of 300, 30, and 100. But we need to point out that Albert Pujols has done this from the very beginning of his career, from year 1 in the major leagues, and obviously he seems a virtual certainty to match Lou Gehrig with his 9th consecutive such season this year.
Guys, interesting with Randy Wolf on the mound. We see the only left-handed hitter in the Cardinals lineup, and Rick Ankiel at the plate. And Wolf dominates left-handed hitters, .097 batting average.
Well, those numbers will go up a little bit, maybe climb over 100 with a base hit by Ankiel as we check in with Cindy Brunson again in the studio.
Thanks so much, Dan. Major's best home team, Boston, entertaining Oakland. Bottom 1, it's Dustin Pedroia. This off Trevor Cahill. Petey's 5th home run of the season. And Boston is up 1-0 in the bottom of the second. How about the Yankees and the Rays? Robinson Cano, RBI triple, part of a Yankees 3-run second. AL East leading New York, swinging a win for the 10th time in 11 games. Dan, back to you.
All right, Cindy, thank you. Well, just a few days before the trade deadline, and you keep expecting the Yankees or Red Sox or both to do something significant. Brendan Ryan, the batter. The Cardinals have been the busiest team. Steve, what are you hearing or what are you surmising about the Yankees and Red Sox in the next few days?
Well, I think really the big story for the Red Sox, a lot of talk about Adrian Gonzalez, first baseman from the San Diego Padres, and possibly being a bat. And it seems interesting that they just picked up Adam LaRoche and what they would do, but I guess the thought would be that LaRoche would go to San Diego in the deal.
Base hit through the left side for Brendan Ryan. And Keel up to second.
I think the other thing, just to put a ribbon on that, the Yankees need some bullpen help, and I think there's some thought they may need a starter because Jabba Chamberlain, it sounds like, may go back into the bullpen. You see Randy Wolf go with the sweeping breaking ball and a good piece of hitting as Brendan Ryan stays back on it. Lets the ball come into the zone, extends his arms to be able to just pull it through the hole right there. CNI ground ball. And Randy Wolf doesn't get a lot of swings and misses, so if you can put it in play and get a good part of the bat on the ball, you have a chance to find a hole.
Brendan Ryan, as you saw, part of the mustache brigade on the Cardinals, mainly the pitchers, but a number of them have taken to growing mustaches in the last few weeks for good luck and as a show of unity. Chris Carpenter was showing bunt, and he took a strike. Carpenter's just 3 for 28 swinging the bat this season and has only one sacrifice. Jose Oquendo walking down the line from third and giving Carpenter the signs, who has squared nice and early again.
Well, don't take it for granted that he's going to bunt. He'll pull it back and slash.
Brings it back now, squares again, and Wolf trying to figure out what Carpenter's up to as he steps off.
A lot of these Cardinal pitchers, they handle the bat very well. Tony La Russa comes out and watches pitchers BP, sees them work on it, knows who can handle the bat and who can't, and what he can put on, and Carpenter is one that can do it all.
Corner infielders in tight for the Dodgers. Carpenter gets it down. Blake's only play the first, and the sacrifice that advances the runners.
Well executed there. If you're going to be successful in the National League, you have to pitch obviously well. You have to hold runners, which Carpenter does extremely well, and handle the bat. We saw him do all three in the game tonight.
And now a base hit could bring in a couple as we go back to the top of the order for Julio Lugo. And baseball fans, Cardinal fans, may notice that Carpenter is hitting ninth tonight. Tony La Russa has gone back to his pitcher hitting ninth since the acquisitions of Lugo and Holiday, feeling less of a need. As Lugo takes a strike, Tony La Russa says there's two aspects to helping out Pujols: getting men on in front of him and giving him protection behind him. Holiday provides the protection, and right now, depending on who's in the lineup and who's out, Tony La Russa doesn't always feel he's got an adequate hitter to hit ninth, kind of a second leadoff hitter. It's kind of a day-by-day thing, as all lineups are with Tony La Russa. You say to him, so are Lugo and Schumacher platooning at second? He goes, no, I wouldn't say that. And you say, so are Lugo and Schumacher and Ryan kind of three guys for two spots on a daily basis? He goes, no, I wouldn't say that either. I mean, it's really every day is a new thought process for Tony La Russa in terms of putting together his lineup. As a player, Oral, now you were a pitcher, but you know, in the majors for position players, your teammates, when guys didn't know if they were going to play, where they would hit, or where they would play, would that hurt them, or would that keep everybody on their toes?
Well, if they're going bad, they're going to use it as an excuse, that's for sure. And if they're going good, you just continue to go with it, and you have a manager. And that's what it takes with strong managers that don't worry about their jobs. Even though Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan are free agents at the end of this year, they run the club the way they want, and that's the way Tony's been his whole life. He's going to make strong decisions, batting the pitcher eighth. He's going to have a second leadoff hitter in the ninth hole. He's going to have his pitchers do things, and he's going to continue to make those decisions. And he's been very, very successful throughout his career, making the tough decisions and making the abstract decisions.
And by the way, a couple of times in the last week when Juan Pierre started for the Dodgers, Joe Torre hit him ninth and hit his pitcher eighth. So there are other managers who have done it, not just La Russa. He started it, but others have done it every now and again. Second and third, two down. And it's going to be an infield hit and an RBI for Lugo. And Keel will score 2-0 Cardinals.
Good job by Julio Lugo trying to at least put the bat on the ball. And you make contact, something good can happen. And you saw Lugo be able to get the ball out over the plate. You see him setting up on the outside. There's that breaking ball again. The Cardinals hitters have done a nice job at least staying back and making contact. They've been able to hook that outside pitch, the breaking ball. Lugo's speed caused for Call to field it and eat it and know that he didn't have a play, hoping they might get the runner turning third base. And Randy Wolf saying, thanks for keeping it in the infield. You saved another run. Now it's up to me.
And again, Oral, you were talking about the bunt earlier. Carpenter doesn't get the bunt down. They don't get a run on that play as Mark DeRosa steps in and takes the strike. Wolf's already over 40 pitches through two tough innings here tonight. DeRosa hit by a pitch and scored on the Matt Holliday double in the first. So the new Cardinals, DeRosa not as new, but DeRosa, Lugo, and Holliday have all contributed here tonight. Loney over for a look. Oral, you got a play on it?
It's about 15-20 seats away from me over here, but I tell you, James Loney was coming in here and a little bit of the warning track was coming all over me. I've got to watch out for that, but you know what? Get some helmets, get some gloves over here, please. I don't need any media guys anymore.
The bulldog turned into a poodle there for a minute.
Oh my gosh, these guys behind me are over here laughing on the bench.
He's Steve. He's not pure bulldog. He's a mixed breed. He's always got a little poodle in him.
How's the palace up there, Mr. Schulman?
I'm loving the extra space.
Yeah. just like Tony La Russa's rosters and lineups, we'll never know where Steve and I are going to be next week.
A ball and 2 strikes. I'll tell you.
Spread out, Dan.
I'm thinking of redecorating, bringing in a ping pong table.
God.
You guys are good down there.
Well, if you need a decorator, the Labradoodle over by first base is the guy to help you.
Oh, listen to the crown princess over there on third.
A little bit late getting back there was Lugo. Looked a little bit surprised by that pickoff move from Randy Wolf.
Well, I like Randy Wolf trying to think along and Joe Torre trying to think along with Tony La Russa here. You've got a situation with 2 outs. Maybe you try to make something happen. Lugo can run a little bit, even though he's coming off the leg injury from earlier in the year with the Red Sox, but speed at third with Ryan.
Well, you have Lugo over here, got the 2-out hit, and you've got DeRosa up there, both new acquisitions. You got Matt Holliday, who drove in the run already, which was DeRosa, and the Cardinals, with 2 outs, only scored 30.4% of their runs. That's the lowest in the major leagues. So you've got to say this influx of offensive talent might change that 2-out situation for them.
Did he go? Strike 3. Says home plate umpire Jeff Kellogg to end the inning. The Cardinals, though, get another run in at the end of 2. Now lead 2-0.
ESPN Monday Night Baseball, presented by Holiday Inn. Brought to you by Fast and Furious, starring Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, on DVD and Blu-ray High Def July 28th. And City never sleeps.
Back in downtown St. Louis, inside of Busch Stadium, Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn, with the Cardinals leading the Dodgers 2-0. Dan Schulman here in the booth. Oral Hershiser at field level just beyond the first base dugout. Steve Phillips just beyond the third base dugout, and with a great view of that diving effort from Mark DeRosa, but hit too sharply by Matt Kemp, and he is aboard with a leadoff single off Chris Carpenter, one of the very best of the game. He's had great success as a Cardinal. He tells us how the game has changed for him as he's gotten older.
The older you get, the simpler the game becomes, and that's, like I said earlier, it slows down, your mind slows down. You're only focusing on one thing, and that you're not concerned about stats, you're not concerned about money, you're not concerned about what people think about you. You're concerned about going out there and winning the ball game.
And Chris Carpenter, now 34 years old, was 49 and 50 as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, where he spent the first 6 years of his career. But as a Cardinal, 59 and 23. Oral, why such a big difference for Carpenter as a Cardinal?
Well, now he's got quality pitches. All of his pitches are tough to hit, even if you know they were coming. The curveball, the slider, the fastball. And what he talks about, he processes so much more, so much quicker, and it's a simpler game.
Wolf gets the bunt down. Molina out from behind the plate. A sacrifice for Wolf to move Kemp into second.
Now, before you throw a pitch, you might think about, which way is the wind blowing? Am I on grass or astroturf? What did this hitter do to me last time? What's my relationship with him right now? Where are my fielders? All the different things that you process and learn as you come up from the minor leagues to be a young big leaguer. Well, as you become a veteran, those things all happen very quickly. You're very confident in your decisions, and then it gets to that fine focus of one thing. Just execute this pitch.
Kemp maybe grimacing a little bit at second base after he went in there following the bunt of Wolf, but he's all right. And back to the top of the order for the Dodgers now for Furcal, with the Cardinals leading 2-0. Top of the third here in St. Louis. Furcal, a ground out on the first pitch he saw from Carpenter to lead off the ball game. And that'll scoot through Molina, and Kemp will take third.
You don't see that very often. I mean, Carpenter will throw that breaking ball and bounce it in the dirt, but Yadier Molina, typically one of the best at keeping that ball in front and holding the runners in place. You see him set up away. The breaking ball comes inside. He had a long way to go to try to get back. And as he shifted over, his body was turned sideways. You saw the angle from behind to where he's turned, so the ball kicked off his chest toward the first base dugout, and he wasn't able to smother it, keep it in front.
Now the Cardinals will play the third baseman DeRosa even with a bag. They'll play the rest of the infielders backed up with a runner at third and one out. And Furcal running up as if to bunt, throw down to third and back in safely is Matt Kemp, and we all know about the absolute cannon that Yadier Molina has, leading the major leagues in pickoffs since he came to the major leagues by almost a 2-to-1 margin over the next best catcher. And Yadier Molina is on the cover of ESPN the magazine this week, an in-depth look at Molina by Lindsey Berra, and everybody just about agreeing that Yadier Molina is the best defensive catcher in baseball. Tony La Russa saying before the game, but if all you talk about defensively is his throwing, that's a big mistake, because they think he's an all-round tremendous defensive catcher, handling pitching staff and so forth. But Steve, this is what he's known for.
Well, no question about it. He has an absolute gun behind the plate. Matt Kemp did a good job coming back into fair territory and shielding the throw, going to Mark DeRosa at third.
Recall with a fly ball to right field. Ludwig trying to find it, battling the sun. Now backs up to the edge of the track to make the catch, and that's plenty deep enough on the sac fly to score Kemp, as the Dodgers get on the board, now trailing 2-1. Let's check in with Cindy Brunson back in the studio.
Dan, thanks. In-game update. Wild card leading Rockies looking to win a third straight, visiting the Mets tonight. Top two with one aboard. It's Troy Tulowitzki. That is good wood. His 19th of the season. This off Oliver Perez. 36 and 16 are Jim Tracy's Rockies since he's come on board. Dan, back to you.
All right, Cindy, thank you. Well, Colorado has made quite a charge under Jim Tracy. They now hold the wild card lead in the National League, although so many teams, including San Francisco, Atlanta, the Cardinals right now are in that hunt as well. The Cardinals a half game back of the Cubs in the National League Central. Orlando Hudson the batter, and the count is 0-2.
You know, over here at third base with Chris Carpenter, you get a lot of ground balls, and Mark DeRosa has been challenged. He's had some balls hit to his left, balls hit to his right. It really is amazing how quickly the ball comes off the bat, and what kind of reactions the infielders have to have. And, you know, they do their preparation as the ball's going to the plate to try to be ready, but the ball comes off the bat very quickly. And what we're having is that DeRosa having to make quick decisions and reactions to try to chase that ball.
Yeah, this pitch right here, breaking ball inside, just thought it clipped O-Dog's jersey. Home plate umpire Jeff Kellogg says it hits him underneath the armpit, the jersey hanging down. I'm not so sure. You know, Steve, the most impressive thing for me is how quickly Mark DeRosa and Yadier Molina are on the same page for that pickoff. That's a risky play for somebody who's only played together 4 or 5 days.
Is that a signal, Oral, or something that DeRosa just has to be ready for on every pitch?
It's definitely a signal, but, you know, it's not like they've been out early to work on that or anything. That's just reactive, instinctual baseball by two guys that are very smart players.
Hudson apparently grazed by that pitch, so he's at first with 2 down. To 1-0 the count on Manny Ramirez. And a strike. Manny in his career 7 for 25, including the double play ball in the first off Chris Carpenter. The rest of the Dodgers in the lineup tonight came into the game 1 for 27 in their careers against Carpenter. Off the outside corner with a cut fastball, 2 balls and a strike.
You know, for fans that come out to the ball game, you know, I think the closer you sit to the field, I think the quicker the game looks. But I think that sometimes if you're at a ball game, it's worth focusing on a particular player as the pitch goes to the plate and watch the movement as to what he does with the pitch. What happens if a foul ball's hit? What happens if the ball's hit to the right side or the left side? And you get a sense of how all of the moving pieces of baseball work. You know, you talk about teamwork. You don't often look at that in baseball, but with runners on base where the ball's hitting to the gap, you see everybody start to move in unison and have the same spacing that they understand where they need to be to have the cutoffs and relays.
Carpenter has fallen behind 3-1 on Ramirez. Back to the mound. Carpenter's got it. And the inning is over. A run for the Dodgers to the bottom of the third at Busch. The Cardinals lead 2-1. He is the most feared hitter in the game. The National League leader in home runs and RBIs, third in batting average, chasing perhaps his third MVP. Albert Pujols is having arguably his best season, although all 9 of them have been so good. How do you split hairs between them? Dan Schulman here in the booth. Oral Hershiser's down there from where I'm sitting outside the first base dugout. Steve Phillips outside the third base dugout, giving us a unique perspective on what's going on as Albert Pujols steps in to begin the bottom of the third. 2-1 Cardinals. Pujols with a fly ball to right field his first time up. run in each of the first and second for the Cardinals. The Dodgers got one back in the top of the third. And on the appeal, he did not go, says Rob Drake. 2-0 now the count on Pujols.
If you guys don't mind, I'm going to duck while Pujols is at the plate. Just tell me when it's safe to come up. I mean, Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, is in shallow left field.
Fly ball down the right field line. Ethier. One down. And that's funny. You're right, Steve. It's something you don't notice, except I'm looking down to where you are. And Oquendo is definitely 40 feet further down the line than he is for most other hitters.
Yeah, he's behind where I am, and I'm looking to duck down right here. And he's going to stay there for Holiday coming up as well.
Yeah, apparently he thinks Holiday's just as much of a threat.
Yeah.
He's the left field coach, not the third base coach right now.
I think he has something to say with third base umpire Tim Timmons down there.
Here's Holiday, who in his first Busch Stadium at bat as a Cardinal had an RBI double. You know, one thing that has always been discussed with respect to Holiday and all hitters who have had great success in Colorado. How good are they? How do their home numbers compare to their road numbers? And predictably, perhaps Holiday's numbers in Colorado much better than his road numbers over the course of his career. Short hop, beautifully by for Call, and he'll get him at first, 2 down. E60 returns to ESPN Tuesday nights. First, Vince Young sits down for the first time to talk with Michael Smith about his tumultuous year, the murder of his friend and mentor Steve McNair, allegations Young attempted suicide, and how it damaged his relationship with Titans coach Steve Fisher. Then E60 reporter Tom Ferry reports on Anna Rawson. Could she help save women's golf? Also, you may have seen the video on YouTube and SportsCenter. E60 goes inside the insanity of the centuries-old tradition, Steve, of chasing the cheese. Now, so far this year, Steve, you have told us about boxing and football and basketball and tennis and auto racing. After our promos, can you enlighten us on chasing the cheese?
I could, but I left my notes up where you're sitting up there. I forgot to bring them down here to the third base dugout.
So we'll just have to tune in on E60. Here's Ryan Ludwig. And it looks like an easy inning for Randy Wolf. Orlando Hudson, 3 up and 3 down. Pujols, Holiday, and Ludwig gone just like that. Welcome back to Monday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Holiday Inn. Dan Schulman, Steve Phillips, Oral Hershiser at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. A big 4-game series. The Dodgers, the best record in all of baseball. And 8 games up on the Rockies atop the National League West against the Cardinals, who enter play a half game back of the Cubs in the National League Central. It is a standing room only crowd, as is usually the case here in St. Louis. About 90% of the folks here appear to be wearing red, as is always the case. The city put on such a great show. Everybody did such a great job over the All-Star break, Home Run Derby, and all the related events here in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago. Andre Ethier leading it off for the Dodgers, takes inside, a ball and a strike. Ethier, as mentioned a little bit earlier, the National League Player of the Week, just named this morning for the Player of the Week for last week. Went 12 for 22 with 2 homers and 5 doubles last week. And it's been an extraordinarily clutch hitter for the Dodgers this year as well, with 4 walk-off hits over the course of the season.
They've been nicknaming him the closer, kind of tongue-in-cheek, like a relief pitcher. He's had so many late-inning heroics.
The guys over here in the third base dugout, and I'm sitting just beyond the far stairs here at the third base dugout. When the players come off the field, you know, you wonder whether they leave their gloves just on the stairs right as they're going down there, and you can see him there. Rafael Furcal actually puts his hat, his is kind of the gold glove, he puts his hat inside his glove, so if somebody steps on it, his hat doesn't get dirty, where Matt Kemp sits his on top. Kind of a rookie move by Kemp.
Think anybody would find it funny if you kind of hit it?
You know, yeah. Let me,
just reach out, Steve. Come on.
See if anybody's watching, guys.
It would be the last time they ever let us send you down.
I've got the O-Dog.
I've
got an O-Dog with an eye on me here in the dugout here. The guard dog.
Ethier with a base hit to lead off the 4th for the Dodgers, and that'll bring up Casey Blake, who had a base hit back in the 2nd in his first at bat of the night. Hits are now even at 4 apiece. The Cardinals lead the Dodgers 2-1 in the top of the 4th. Chris Carpenter's already gotten 2 double plays tonight. One to end the first inning, another to end the second inning.
We talked about the timing for Yadier Molina and Mark DeRosa in that pickoff play, but there's also a learning curve for infielders. DeRosa, Julio Lugo, new to the team, playing second base, has turned 2 double plays in this game, and he's been a little tentative in doing it. He's taking the time to catch it and get it out of his glove. But there's also that rhythm that middle infielders have to get into with each other. And Jose Oquendo, the third base coach for the Cardinals, one of the best infielder instructors in the game.
And again, Lugo is going to play some second and some short. He's been a Cardinal for 4 games. He's played twice at each spot. Brendan Ryan is the shortstop when he's in there, and if Skip Schumacher is in the lineup, he will be the second baseman. So Lugo is going to play both spots. Brendan Ryan is a guy that Tony La Russa really wants in there when his ground ball pitchers like Chris Carpenter and Joel Pinheiro are on the mound. And Oral, you got a lot of ground balls, and you can appreciate when the manager puts the best defensive lineup on the field when you're out there.
Well, you like that a lot. And the thing that I've really noticed out here is that Carpenter has had men on base in every inning, and his pacing on the mound is absolutely amazing. There's no panic to him at all.
3-1 on Blake.
When you think about veterans and pitching through jams, and I would say if you interviewed him right now, he'd say he didn't have his best stuff. He's going to deep counts. He's got runners on. The Dodgers are putting the good part of the bat on him. But you know what? He's winning 2-1, and that was when we interviewed him. What he talked about, it's about winning baseball games.
3-2.
They fell behind 3-0 with a man on first. He's been keeping the runner close to first, and that ball came back. K-Zone had it as a strike. It was a very high-quality pitch for 3-1. He got a double play ball there.
Let's see if Ethier's on the move. Carpenter thinking he might be as he snaps a throw over. Ethier with decent speed. Carpenter does strike out a fair number of batters, but he also gets a lot of double plays. So we'll see what Joe Torre is thinking. Runner going. Pitch fouled off.
Stay loose, Oral.
Yeah, that was high enough. I wasn't scared.
Chris Carpenter's gone 8 innings each of his last 2 starts. Missed some time earlier this season on the DL, but still 8-3 with a 2.26 ERA. And with the innings that he has pitched tonight, he now has enough innings to qualify for the ERA lead in the National League, and he finds himself second right now, behind only Dan Herron of Arizona. 3-2 with the runner going, and it's fouled off again.
It's not surprising that Joe Torre has Andre Ethier moving. Casey Blake's grounded into 9 double plays this year. So a guy that can't hit the ball on the ground. He doesn't have great foot speed.
But interesting that he is being aggressive, because Casey Blake swing and miss. Yadier Molina is throwing a lot of runners out. And one of the best defensive catchers with that arm. You could be running into a double play in a hurry.
Goes again. And Blake sends a fly ball to right field. Ludwig racing over toward the line. Dives, and he makes the catch. A terrific catch out and right by Ludwig. Ethier does get back.
Now Casey Blake on a 3-2 pitch just kind of flicks this out there. It probably was a ball, and Ludwig, from my angle down here at low first, he really didn't know the whole time he was running. I could read his expression that if he's going to get to the ball or not, but he continued to stride towards it and finally laid himself out. But there was doubt in his eyes the whole time, because that ball, when it's hit by a right-hander, is going to curve away from him when it loses speed. He wasn't sure the whole time he was going to catch up to it, but never gave up.
It's a risky play to not know and dive, because if you miss it, that ball rolls all the way to the wall, and it's at least a triple and a run driven in.
So now here's Loney, runner at first, 1 out, and Loney looks at a strike. So you've got Ethier at first. Loney's the batter. Russell Martin behind him. Matt Kemp behind him. Again, Steve, this young core of players that, and every time that you talk trade with the Dodgers over the last couple of years, other teams would say, well, we like Martin, we like Loney, we like Kemp, whatever the case may be. But Ned Colletti always resisted the temptation to trade these guys for a quick fix, and these guys have grown and matured into some of the key players on this team.
Well, the key for the Dodgers was their young guys were ready to play at the major league level and compete at the major league level. So they were able to develop and try to win at the same time.
Loney with a high fly ball to right field. Ludwig back. Feeling for the fence, makes the catch up against the wall for out number 2.
Well, back out here in right field, and we said that James Loney's power is going to come. St. Louis fans giving Ryan Lugwood a huge ovation, but this ball is going out there, and he does a great job getting back to the wall. He's reading it like he could time it. The ball carried very, very well at the end. He has to deal with the sun because he creeps from the shadows into the sunlight, scales the wall a little bit, and those sunglasses have not wanted to stay on his head for either catch.
Here's Russell Martin with 2 down. So why does he have the sunglasses up on the cap when they're actually of no use to him?
It's apparel. It's probably a good commercial deal.
He's accessorizing, I think, is what he's doing, right?
Just about seen the last of the sun, but it was a factor on that play. Ball and a strike on to Martin, who grounded into a double play his first time up. Martin's the one guy of the 4 relatively young players we talked about whose numbers have taken a big step back. He has not been the hitter this year that he was a couple of years ago, especially in the power department, although, as we mentioned earlier, he did hit a home run yesterday.
I was really surprised during batting practice. I was down by the cage, and he wasn't working the ball to right field at all. He was really hooking the ball during batting practice, and in his first at bat when he hit that 6-4-3, it was the same type of swing, just kind of a rollover swing.
This time up the middle and through for a base hit. Ethier will stop at second. Now a little bit more about these 4 young players, all of them between the ages of 24 and 27. The youngest and maybe the most with the most raw talent might be Matt Kemp. James Loney, a line drive hitter who uses the whole field. Russell Martin, the catcher, a .281 career hitter, and Andre Ethier, who was acquired in a trade from Oakland for Milton Bradley, but made his major league debut as a Dodger. Was a minor leaguer when he was picked up. So this is the great young core of position players, all of them in or approaching their prime. And all of them such key factors for the Dodgers this year.
Well, the other thing that's evolved is last year they had guys like Nomar Garciaparra, Jeff Kent, Luis Gonzalez. They've had these veterans over the last few years that have kind of, corralled the young players. But now the young players are the leaders of this team. The veterans are gone. They've turned over the torch to the young guys, and they're leading this club. And you say, well, Casey Blake. Well, Casey Blake's a veteran, but he's a complimentary guy. He's kind of quiet. He's that kind of guy who kind of pats you on the back, whispers in your ear, tells you something. And Manny, even though he's older, he acts like he's 12. So, I mean, he actually is a young guy, too, with all of the other young players on their team.
2 on, 2 out, 2-1 Cardinals. Dodgers batting in the top of the 4th. And 2 balls and a strike now, the count on Kemp. Or, as you said earlier, Chris Carpenter has had men on in every inning. He's pitched from the stretch most of the night. He's had to work hard so far.
He has. He's made a quality pitch when he's had to, but he seems to be kind of over-rotating a little bit and kind of pulling the ball low and away to most of the right-handed hitters, and then that accentuates the fastball in and makes that up to them, too.
Curveball in for a strike, 2-2.
Now that's the pitch that'll get you back in line. You have to get on top, you have to have good rhythm, and you get out front. So Yadier Molina and Chris Carpenter knowing if the fastball and the cut fastball don't have the location, sometimes the best pitch is not to keep burying and trying too hard on that pitch, but throw a nice, smooth, easy curveball to get you back in sync.
A long inning for Carpenter here, as Kemp has to spin away from that inside pitch. The count is now full. Another breaking ball. He just missed with it. And now with a full count and 2 down, the runners will both get the benefit of a head start.
And remember, with Randy Wolf on deck, you probably have a chance to use any one of your pitches here in this situation, expecting to be able to get the pitcher out. So don't expect him just to give in and try not to walk him and throw a fastball down the middle. This could be any one of the 4 or 5 pitches.
Down and away, ball 4, and they're loaded.
Well, that's why batting 8th is not an easy thing to do, because sometimes you don't know when they're going to pitch to you or pitch around you. Good patience by Matt Kemp.
A little concern for Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan. A high pitch count and a difficult inning here for Carpenter. Still can get out of it unscathed if he can get Wolf, who's hitting 125 on the season. DeRosa's in at third. Pujols is back at first. Outfielders play Wolf to hit the ball the other way. Broken to back ground ball foul.
Earlier in the game, we saw that attempted pickoff play at third base by Yadier Molina to Mark DeRosa to try to get Matt Kemp. say, well, they didn't get him, so it wasn't successful. But what it does, it now plants the seed in every runner on third base. And in third base coach Larry Bowa's mind that the secondary lead can't be as aggressive. So that if there is a curveball in the dirt that Molina can smother and he can kick away a little bit, the Dodger runners may not be able to be as aggressive because they're not that far down the line.
Easily the most by any major league catcher over the last 4.5 years. Almost had another one earlier tonight. Swing and a miss by Wolf. 0-2.
Well, Carpenter's not on his game at all. That was an 0-1, supposed to be a cut fastball inside. He came off of it again, and it just went out the top half of his hand and hung. They're lucky that Randy Wolf, the pitcher, is up there when that's happening.
And a curveball to get him and end the inning. So the Dodgers leave him loaded. Carpenter had to work hard and also benefited not once but twice. Great catches by Ludwig. First racing over to the line, then back to the fence. The Dodgers don't score at all. Welcome back to Busch Stadium, where the Cardinals lead the Dodgers 2-1 going to the bottom of the fourth. Dan Schulman with you up here in the booth. Oral Hershiser and Steve Phillips on their respective baselines just beyond the dugout. Guys, let's start with you, Oral. What's the biggest difference between watching a game down there from up here?
Well, just perspective in this dugout. It's a very quiet St. Louis dugout most of the time, but when they have something to cheer about, it's professional. They come up. They really greeted Ryan Ludwig from right field in the last inning after those two outstanding plays.
And Steve, what about on your side?
For me, it's speed of the game. I think some of the balls coming off of the bats to the third base shortstop, and we had a lot of plays on this side of the infield, balls that have gotten by the third baseman. So I think the ball's really flying off the bat over here.
Is Yadier Molina to lead off the bottom of the fourth. 2-1 Cardinals. The Dodgers out hitting the Cardinals 5-4, but the Dodgers have left 5 men on already, including the bases loaded in the just completed top of the fourth. As Randy Wolf misses up and away again. 2-0 on Molina. How much, guys, of the actual chatter can you hear, say, from the infielders or from the catcher? Steve, can you hear what's actually being said out on the field?
Not with a headset on, I can't. I mean, I can see guys more in the dugout kind of yelling out from the dugout here and there. But you know, I'm with Oral. The dugouts are a little bit quiet, quieter than I anticipated them being, where guys are coming back in and having more one-on-one conversations, discussions about what Carpenter's throwing and how he's approaching this. I saw Casey Blake and Manny Ramirez talking. Actually, would love to have listened to that conversation. But they were talking hitting.
Molina lifts the ball to center field for Kemp. 1 down here in the fourth inning as we go back to Cindy Brunson for an update.
Dan, thanks so much. Checking in on the Tigers and the Rangers. AL Central leading Detroit, getting on board quick. Top 1, Curtis Granderson. Bang. His 20th of the season. This off Tommy Hunter. And just like that, the Tigers are on top 1-zip. Of course, the Twins and White Sox are scoreless. Red Sox all over the A's 5-0, and the Yankees beating the Rays. Dan, back to you.
Cindy, thank you. Rick Ankiel, the batter, a base hit, and he scored back in the second. He's the only left-handed batter in the Cardinal lineup. As he lifts the ball in a very shallow right center, backing up is Hudson. The second baseman, he'll make the catch for the second out. Let's again give you a sense of where Oral and Steve are tonight. Oral is just beyond the first base dugout as we zoom in from our camera on third base. There he is, well protected. Crouched down in the bunker a little bit, as is Steve over on the third base side.
Hi, Oral.
Hey, Stevie, how you doing, pal?
Dan, I see you up there.
How hot is it down there, guys?
It's actually pretty mild.
Is that right?
For
Very
St.
nice.
Louis, listen,
Yeah.
for St. Louis in late July, beautiful night.
I don't know what the temperature feels like, but 72-ish.
Line into right field. There's a base hit for Brendan Ryan. His second hit of the night, and he slips. He was thinking 2, but he slipped on the turn and has to go back to first base.
Well, Brendan Ryan stayed inside this ball, and he just kind of flat out flies around the corner, and he just kind of gets on the sides of his shoes here where the spikes are on the bottom, big guy. You can't run on the sides. And I'll tell you what, another reaction from this St. Louis bench. Very businesslike. I've been on the teams with the Dodgers and with the Indians, and there's a lot of jovial, and guys would be talking about a sniper from the upper deck shot him, and people be laughing and kind of railing over the railing here, but nobody here. They were more concerned he's getting back and watching the situation.
So here's Carpenter. He grounds the first pitch left side of the infield. The third baseman Blake is only plays to first. He'll make it and end the inning. At the end of 4, 2-1 Cardinals. This summer, please join Major League Baseball and the people all-stars among us in your community by signing up to volunteer at MLBGoBeyond.com. Back here at Busch Stadium with Oral Hershiser and Steve Phillips, I'm Dan Schulman of Monday Night Baseball, presented by Holiday Inn here on ESPN. The Cardinals and the Dodgers. Well, just about everybody's wearing red, but that young man has found some Cardinal blue to wear here to the ballpark to root on his beloved Cardinals, who opened up play tonight, a half game back of the Cubs for the lead atop the National League Central. The Cubs have won 10 out of 13. They are starting to figure it out. As Furcal runs up to bunt, gets the bat out of the way, and the count's 1-1. And you've got Milwaukee 3 out there in 4th. Houston's only 2 out in 3rd place, Steve.
Cubs offense starting to come around a little bit for them. They've been waiting all season long for Milton Bradley and Alfonso Soriano to get it going, and Ramos Ramirez back off the DL and starting to drive the ball a little bit.
Ryan Dempster back, Ted Lilly on the DL. Think the Cubs will be active in the next few days?
You know, I'm not sure that they will be. I think they could probably use a little depth in the bullpen, but beyond that, I don't think they have a big deal to make. They just need their good players to play well.
Curveball, and it's fouled off by Furcal.
I mean, I think that the Cubs, where they could, I think, really protect themselves, if they got Freddie Sanchez from the Pittsburgh Pirates, play him at second base, and then Mike Fontenot can become kind of that utility man. And then if a Ramos Ramirez goes down again with that injury at third base, you've got offensive protection already in your lineup where Fontenot can go to third and Sanchez can play second.
Ground ball base hit through the right side for Furcal to lead off the 5th. Chris Carpenter's going to have to work with the stretch again. Let's go back and check out his night with Oral.
I'll tell you what, for me, Chris Carpenter's a little too rotational. What I mean is he gets to the top of his delivery, the front shoulder stays open. You have to get closed to stay closed, and then as he heads towards the plate on the power pitches, that front side flies open, and everything is kind of flat and level, or he has to pull it. And the one pitch he has confidence in throwing a strike for is with his curveball, because subconsciously you've got to keep that front side quiet to get out in front and make the ball break.
I can see all the base runners he's allowed tonight. And you don't see a hit batter, so there have been 9 base runners against Carpenter. Hudson trying to bunt really for a base hit. Will he get it? Yes! Hudson is safe. And the Cardinals are going to argue. Here comes Tony La Russa. Well, you had a good view. What'd you see?
I had him out over here. Maybe Rob Drake was looking at the play and expecting the feed. He's not looking for the tag, but he is all over him early from my angle, and it looks like Chris Carpenter gets him right there long before Orlando Hudson touches the base. This will be a little better angle. That tag is on him. As soon as the glove goes down, even from that angle, from where I am right here, I can hear the thud and watch the jersey move.
This is your view right here, Or.
Great play, and he's got him out by 3 feet.
See Julio Lugo's reaction is Lugo has somewhat of similar angle that Rob Drake, the umpire, has on the call, and it's like he did get him right there.
Now a missed call and a major break for the Dodgers. So Hudson is credited with a bunt hit, and as if to make it worse, 2 on, nobody out, and here comes Manny Ramirez against Carpenter. A couple of groundouts tonight, and one of them into a double play for Manny. The Dodgers have certainly had their opportunities. Now Yadier Molina is going to go to the mound and have a little conference here with Carpenter on how to deal with Ramirez. This is one of the things Tony La Russa told us before the game, guys. Molina does the best. He's got great instincts on when to go talk to a pitcher, what to say to a pitcher, and maybe most importantly, Oral, what pitches to call in certain situations.
Yeah, we talk about his fingers, and he goes over the scouting report with, of course, Carpenter and Dave Duncan, but then to have the guts to execute it within the game, because there are definitely borderline situations when you can put down the safe pitch or you can put down the gutsy pitch, and Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa have told us that Yadier Molina has outstanding guts when it comes to tough situations.
Of course, the youngest of the 3 Molina brothers who are currently Major League catchers. also apprenticed for a year under one of the best defensive catchers in recent memory in Mike Matheny.
Well, a great bloodline both from his family and the Cardinals organization, and tremendous instincts to read a hitter. You watch as he makes the signs to Carpenter. He kind of peeks up at Manny Ramirez, see if Manny might be peeking down to try to steal a sign or making any sort of a change or adjustment in his stance.
A little high, 2 balls, no strikes. Keeping an eye on Hudson down at first, thinking about Ramirez at the plate as Chris Carpenter continues to labor.
Now, Oral, dangerous count right here with Ramirez at the plate. Does he have the confidence to go something other than fastball?
Well, I would hope so, because his fastball command is not very good. That last pitch was borderline high, but it could have been a strike. It's very hard when you're facing a quality hitter and you know you don't have your quality location.
Grounded to short. Ryan to second, one. Back to first. Another double play. Third of the night induced by Carpenter. Second time with Manny Ramirez batting.
You don't have your best stuff, but you got the nerves of a cat burglar, and you can throw a running in fastball to Manny Ramirez. It seems like he really wants to set Manny up, that sooner or later he's going to come in. Both times he's had Manny in hitters counts, he has come inside, and great defense by the Cardinals guarding that hole over there, that 6th hole. And you look him, you think this is going to be a base hit when it's just out of the reach of Mark DeRosa, but Ryan is right there, and it's a good turn by Lugo again with the runner bearing down on him.
3 double plays in 5 innings tonight for Chris Carpenter. Runner at third, 2 down as the end result as Andre Ethier takes a strike. You know, for a guy who's allowed the leadoff hitter to reach in 3 of the first 5 innings, and in the other 2, the second batter who came up gone on base. Carpenter's been in trouble all night long, but he's only given up 1 run. Ethier 1 for 2. And a little flare. Ryan is there. He'll make the catch, and the inning is over. There were 2 on with nobody out. Manny Ramirez was up in a hitter's count. Carpenter got out of it. Albert Pujols due up third when we come back. MLB.TV, the ultimate baseball experience, featuring 100 out-of-market games per week live on your computer. For more details, visit MLB.TV, where baseball is always on. Chris Carpenter got a big double play to get out of the inning, but this is the play that got him upset. When Orlando Hudson was called safe, you can see he was clearly out on the tag. And as Carpenter came off the field after the inning, he was hollering out at Rob Drake, the first base umpire. Why are you staring at me? Don't stare at me, is what Carpenter's saying to Drake. Now, Drake had walked out toward second base where he was talking with Mark Wegner. But it sure looked, if we read his lips correctly, like, why are you staring at me? Yadier Molina, meanwhile, hustled down the line, and he made sure he got Carpenter out of there before Carpenter might have said something that he would regret. Julio Lugo leading off the bottom of the 5th for the Cardinals. And Oral, Chris Carpenter is a tremendous competitor, but he's also, he handles himself the right way on the field. And he obviously felt that Rob Drake was staring at him, watching him come in off the field, as if anticipating there was going to be a problem.
So pent-up emotion and the release of it, probably the frustrations of he knowing his mechanics are not locked in, and it's been a tough outing. He's had base runners on and jams. He's gotten all the double plays to get out of them, but then thinking, you know, finally, maybe I should have had an easy inning and I could blame it on somebody else.
I like this. The thing that scares me when I see my ace pitcher dive for a runner at first base and he end up kind of bracing himself with his right arm so that he didn't slide over. I'm thinking, please get up and don't be hurt.
Did Lugo go? He checked the swing 2-2. Well, he asked Tony La Russa about the difference for the Cardinals in recent years between when they've been a contending team and when they haven't been. And he says it's simple. If Chris Carpenter's healthy, they contend. When he hasn't been, they haven't been contenders, or they haven't been able to make the postseason. We've got a healthy Carpenter right now, though he missed some time earlier this year. And Lugo is gone to the foul tip held by Martin. 1 down. Cindy Brunson's got an update.
Thanks, Dan. Checking in on the Astros and the Cubs. Houston 14 up and only 6 down this month. And in the top of the second, Carlos Lee. Obvious rapport between bat and ball. His 16th of the season. That off Carlos Zambrano. And El Central leading Chicago, looking to win a 5th straight. In the bottom of the first, an RBI double for Prince Fielder. His Brewers on top of the Nationals at Miller Park. Dan, back to you.
So things, Cindy, are apparently as tight as can be in the National League, or the National League Central, I should say. But if Houston wins that game and Milwaukee wins their game, they'll get even tighter. DeRosa with a ground ball to short. Big hop for Call and a strong arm to get him. 2 down.
Randy Wolf has been outstanding tonight, just giving up the 2 runs. He comes to a nice balance point. Look how close he is at the top. The knee goes back towards second base. And then something you don't see very often is that hop step off that front leg, that recoil sometimes that he makes. Usually a soft front leg, and the hips continue to rotate through. He does that on the curveball. But sometimes on the fastball and the cutter, he will actually hop back to get some leverage.
Pretty low pitch count for Wolf, especially the last couple of innings. Hasn't walked a batter. 21 starts for Wolf, 12 no decisions. He is 5-4 on the season as he faces Pujols. 7 times this year, Wolf left a game with a lead, only to see the Dodger bullpen give it up. He is trailing right now 2-1 as he faces Pujols, 0 for 2 on fly balls to right field. And a strike over the outside corner.
You know, one of the issues concerning the St. Louis Cardinals is their ability to hit right-handed pitching. I mean, left-handed pitching, they're hitting .228 against left-handed pitching this year. And you look at it, they have 8 right-handed batters in their lineup. They picked up Matt Holliday, and he's about .288 against left-handers, and a guy that we've seen do some damage tonight. But I think one of the other issues, you know, we talked last year about the Chicago Cubs being 2 right-handed in their lineup. Well, the Cardinals, you could make that argument, are 2 right-handed as well. They could get a Skip Schumacher in the lineup, and then one of Rick Ankiel and Colby Rasmus in there, but likely everybody else right-handed batters.
2 balls, 2 strikes now on Pujols.
Talk about that rhythm that a pitcher can get into if there are too many hitters of the same side facing in a row.
Something the Cubs dealt with, and Jim Henry decided they were too right-handed, and that's one of the reasons why Mark DeRosa was traded and Milton Bradley was picked up by the Cubs. Full count on Pujols. 34 homers, 91 RBIs. First 3-ball count of the night for Randy Wolf. Goes with a changeup, and he just missed the corner. Ball 4.
Well, that's an example of the discipline that you will see from Albert Pujols now that Matt Holliday is behind him, and that pitchers won't be able to make that risky pitch and not be able to get away with it. Maybe in the past Albert would expand, and that would put him into a slump, but he just passes the baton now to the new hot bat behind him, Matt Holliday.
Holliday doubled in a run in the first inning. Tonight his Busch Stadium debut as a Cardinal. Played 3 games for the Cardinals over the weekend in Philadelphia, so he doubled in a run in his first at bat here in what they like to call baseball heaven. And grounded out his second time up.
There was a group of media around Matt Holliday before the game. They were talking, and it was where he talked about being kind of a Cardinals fan, but also that he likes National League baseball, the style of baseball, a little bit better than the American League. Now, that may be because he's had more success in his career being a National League player than an American League player.
They also get used to the hitter's eyes. I know we have interleague play, but you just don't get the reps.
Fouled off, knocks the mask right off Russell Martin. A ball and a strike.
He also talked how he liked the pace of the National League game because it moves along a little quicker, where you don't get those 3.5-hour games that you have over in the American League, where you get back up to bat. Even though the lineup turns over, you might not get as many runs or slugfests, but as a hitter you stay in your rhythm a little bit better.
Inside, 2 balls and a strike. Well, before the ball game tonight, Matt Holliday getting to know a lot of people, including some of the most important people he needs to get to know here in St. Louis, including William DeWitt, the chairman and CEO of the Cardinals. Having a conversation with him pregame. It's during batting practice before the game. Holliday, a free agent at the end of the year, as is Mark DeRosa. But what the new Cardinals have done in the last few days, Holliday and Lugo just picked up in time for Friday's game at Philadelphia. 17 out of 30. Not bad for your 2 new acquisitions.
I tell you, it's a general manager's dream come true right there. I mean, you know, you make deals, you want them to come in and have instant success. Gives credibility and confidence to the moves.
Remember the changeup again and missed away again. So back-to-back 2-out walks given up by Wolf.
Well, Wolf seems to have confidence that he can get these right-handed hitters to hit this changeup away, but that ball out of his hand is never a strike. Good discipline hitting, just continuing to pass the baton, professional at bats, knowing that there's one more hitter, and it just proves the length and depth now of this Cardinal lineup.
Orel, is this a matter of Wolf being too fine and too, worried about contact, or is he just missing his spots?
Well, look, the one thing about throwing a changeup, you really are looking for contact. You're looking to get somebody to hit the pitch. You throw too many changeups that you're trying to get them to swing and miss or get a called strike. That's when you do get too fine. And I think you're right, Steve. He needs to throw that ball more to the middle of the plate and have it fade to the outside corner instead of just trying to hit that edge of the outside corner.
So all of a sudden, 2 men on now with 2 outs for Ryan Ludwig, who's 0 for 2. Yanks one foul down the left field line. One of the interesting things Tony La Russa said before the game, guys, Orel, I'll put it to you, and somebody asked him, with Holiday here and DeRosa here now, is there less pressure on some of the other guys on the team? And Tony La Russa said, no, I like pressure. We want pressure. He doesn't want anybody relaxing now that they've picked up these new players.
And the way he runs a game in a week of games, he will get everybody in there 4 or 5 times a week, use them, and he likes that competition. He loves the pressure. And Joe Torre's on that too right now because he's got the Dodgers thinking that they need to get to 30 games over 500. He doesn't want anybody to relax over there in that Dodger dugout. And the Dodgers are coming into these dog days of August where, games might get to the point where they seem like they don't matter. And he does not want these young kids especially to get a flat tire because they might not be able to turn it back on.
Well, guys, I think there's additional pressure on Tony La Russa. Early in the year, he was playing with young guys. I think there was a sense that they were overachieving. But now that he's gotten what he wanted, veteran players that plug all the holes, I think there's pressure on him now to deliver a division championship here in St. Louis.
The 0-2 to Ludwig, and a fastball misses up and away.
Well, if he liked pressure for the players and he wants players that have pressure and can deal with it, he likes dealing with it also. And you know what? His personality, Steve, is just so much like that. He loves the grind. He and Dave Duncan, they love the grind of the season and sweating it out and strategizing against the opposing organizations.
So they definitely have the resumes to say they can handle the pressure.
Holiday at first. Pujols is out at second. 2 down. 2-1 Cardinals in the bottom of the 5th. Back-to-back 2-out walks and an opportunity here to do some damage for Ryan Ludwig.
It'll be interesting to see if Randy Wolf goes away from his sequence, which is soft away and hard in, or if Ryan Ludwig has learned enough to sit on the soft stuff away. It looks like there's a discrepancy here between Russell Martin and Randy Wolf because of that. It's like, are we going to go with the same sequences and same approach that we walk 2 right-handers with, or are we going to go with something new and different?
What would you do here, though, Orel? Would you change it up or stay with your sequence?
Well, Ryan Ludwig at times can really cover the ball away, and he just went with a hard fastball up. And the common thing would be then to throw the changeup away, and I would double up with the fastball right here. I've proven that I want to get right-handed hitters out that are strong with the soft stuff away, so I'm going to double up on one of the things that I had just done.
Fastball away, and he gets him. Strike 3 called. He freezes Ludwig, who doesn't like the call, and the Cardinals leave 2 men on in the bottom of the 5th.
ESPN Monday Night Baseball, presented by Holiday Inn. Brought to you by Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends. Please enjoy Dos Equis responsibly.
Top of the 6th inning here in St. Louis. Dan Schulman, Orel Hershiser, Steve Phillips. Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn. The Cardinals in the opening game of this 4-game series lead the Dodgers 2-1. This is the first game these two teams have played against one another this season. First pitch swinging, Casey Blake, fly ball right field. Ludwig there makes the play, 1 down. Now we've been telling you tonight that Orel Hershiser and Steve Phillips are down at field level. Steve, give us your vantage point. What are you seeing down there?
Well, I'm on the outfield side of the third base dugout, guys, and I'm actually where the deep, even with like Mark DeRose said, deep third base out here, and actually a little bit in front of where Larry Bowen and Jose Oquendo play, where the power hitters come up from the right side of the plate. And good perspective, got a good angle of Chris Carpenter out on the mound right here. And I've got a great view into the Dodgers dugout here, where every once in a while you see some conversations, guys talking about what Carpenter's doing as he approaches the different hitters.
I'm just glad you got to take all your highlighters down there with you. I know you can't do a ball game without them.
I did bring them all down. I got the whiteout with me as well. You'll be glad to know.
There's James Loney, 1 for 2. Hit a base hit to right and then hit a fly ball to deep right field to the fence, caught by Ludwig. This time a ground ball to second. Easy play, 2 down. More Major League action coming your way on ESPN this week. First, it is Wednesday Night Baseball presented by Smirnoff Ice at 7 Eastern. The New York Yankees take on the Tampa Bay Rays. And then Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Manny Ramirez and the Dodgers will be in Atlanta to take on Chipper Jones and the Braves. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. The Braves are 3 games over 500. Terrific pitching. And this is a big road trip for the Dodgers. 4 here in St. Louis, then 3 in Atlanta. Then they go home, play Milwaukee for 3. Then they play Atlanta 4 more. Then they go to San Francisco. This is a very tough stretch to find out just how good are the Dodgers. Now, we all know they got the best record in baseball. And they have done a lot of that without Manny Ramirez. But there are those, Steve, who think maybe the pitching's a little bit thin. Maybe they are looking to make a move right now. The lineup is deep. But this is going to be a good test for them.
Well, I think the big thing is, will they be playing those games with this current roster, or will they make a move before the deadline? And I think that, there's some talk that they've had discussions about Roy Halladay from the Toronto Blue Jays. There's been speculation that Aaron Harang from the Cincinnati Reds and David Weathers may be in consideration for a deal.
Russell Martin gets hit by the pitch. Chris Carpenter still looking for his first 1-2-3 inning of the night.
When you can't close that front side and you spin off a little bit, you're going to pull low and away, or you're going to leave it up and in. You think about the arm path that spinning off the ball creates. Comes out of your hand early. It goes up and into that right-handed hitter like this one to Russell Martin. And if it continues, it caught Yadier Molina a little bit on the shoulder right there, a little shoulder pointer or elbow. The thing, Steve, about this schedule right now, they're doing all those games, Dan, with no off day. So they are really, with the moves that they could possibly make, is this the roster, the one they're going to stay content with? And the stretch of games right here, there's tough players and tough teams.
Matt Kemp, the number 8 hitter. He's got a base hit and a walk tonight. He's also scored a run. Chris Carpenter tonight has now given up 7 hits. He's walked 2 and he's hit 2. So 11 base runners in 5 2/3.
So the starting pitchers market in the trades has dried up a little bit. Seattle looks like they're in to compete and may not be sellers. So Jared Washburn may be selling. Eric Bedard's gone on the disabled list.
What about Cliff Lee?
You know what? I get the sense that the Cleveland Indians understand that this may not be their year, but they want to win next year. And Cliff Lee signed for a very affordable $9 million next year. And if they're going to win, if they think they have a chance to win next year, they have to hold on to him. So I think unless they get their socks knocked off, they're going to keep him, and he will not be dealt.
The 1-2 to Kemp, and a swing and a miss to end the inning. Another runner left on by the Dodgers to the bottom of the 6th. Still 2-1 St. Louis.
This time Liriano Chichi, there he goes! And after 62 years, move over Ty Cobb. 893 lifetime stolen bases. Grew up here in Oakland, setting the record here at home.
And all season, you've been helping us celebrate our 20th season of Major League Baseball on ESPN by casting your votes for our 20th year All-Star team. Now it's time to go to the MLB page at ESPN.com to make your selection for your favorite catcher. From one of the 3 finalists, Mike Piazza, generally considered to be the best offensive catcher of all time. Pudge Rodriguez with the rifle arm, 13 gold gloves, and Jorge Posada, a 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner. Tune in to Sunday Night Baseball to find out who wins between Piazza, Pudge, and Posada. If we were doing this 10 years from now on the 30th anniversary, maybe this guy would be in the conversation. Because defensively, he can certainly rival any of the greats. And he's come a long way as a hitter over the last 3 years. Hit over 300 last year. As he yanks it foul, the count is 0-2. Well, Mike Piazza, of course, a very late draft choice. As nothing more than a favorite of Tommy Lasorda. Outstanding offensive career. Pudge Rodriguez still going. And in his prime, one of the best arms from behind the plate we have ever seen. And Jorge Posada, the switch hitting, power hitting catcher for the New York Yankees through
Their great run in the late 90s and early this decade as Molina pops it up one down.
I would say all three of those catchers Hall of Famers for sure. Piazza, Pudge, and Jorge Posada.
Benji Molina said just the other day, said, I don't think I'm going to the Hall of Fame, and I don't think Jose's going to the Hall of Fame. He said, but I think Yadier's got a chance. Now, it's a long way to go. But Yadier Molina acclaimed as the best defensive catcher in the game is Rick Ankiel. Ankiel with a base hit and a pop-up. He's having some good swings, Oral, at Randy Wolf, who's been so tough on left-handed batters this year.
Yeah, Randy Wolf's got an outstanding curveball, but Rick Ankiel's been picking on the straight pitches. Got the base hit that he grounded through the infield and the fly out, but he looks very comfortable up there. There's the pitch right there, the curveball that normally is very sharp and very big, that gives the lefties so much trouble. And then he's got great command of the fastball to lefties on the opposite side of the plate, which those two in combination really give lefties fits.
Missed with a curveball again. 2 balls and a strike.
When we talk about curveballs coming out at the top half of your hand, so you think about your fingers are out in front and you go to spin the ball, and if it comes out early, it has a feeling of coming out the top half compared to pulling the front of the ball and having the ball still in your hand as you spin it.
Well, with the slider that time, and he missed down and away. 3 balls and a strike.
I'll tell you what, one of the best conversations I've listened to in a long time was yesterday for the Sunday game. We're in Detroit. Justin Verlander and Oral Hershiser talking about grips on curveballs and how they hold it and how they throw their sliders, and it was an amazing conversation.
Down the left field line, draws a trio of Dodgers, and it will be for Call, making a fine running catch in foul territory.
Pop-up priorities as the ball go down the line is the shortstop calls off the third baseman and the left fielder can call off the shortstop. The ball hit very high. You see Rafael Furcal calling it, checking to see where he is to the wall. Manny saying, you know what, you take it, Rafael. And Rafael says, I need a break. I'm going to sit down here for just a second, guys. Catch my breath, and then I'll head back to my position. And the Dodger fans pat him on the back a little bit.
Play that happened right in front of you as Furcal and Blake went down the line, right past where Steve is sitting, just beyond the third base dugout. Oral's down the first base line, just beyond the Cardinals dugout as Brendan Ryan takes inside ball 1. Ryan, a couple of base hits tonight. And make him 3 for 3. Well, we saw Steve's vantage point last half inning. Let's check in with Oral and see the game as he is seeing it tonight. Bulldog?
Down here on first base is a great vantage point, especially with the Cardinals, as professional as they've been. And I've got to watch Albert Pujols with his footwork. I've also got to have my workstation here. I've gotten to see the tag by Chris Carpenter here. And as we go into the dugout, you know, the relationship between the players, you know, there's a common bond between guys. And the relationship I've noticed that's already started here in the Cardinal dugout is Matt Holliday and Mark DeRosa, 2 newcomers that have really kind of hit it off and have been talking most of the game.
2 down, runner at first for Chris Carpenter. Well, Tony La Russa said before the game they've upgraded the talent, but now how quickly do the players become a team? And he seemed very encouraged, Oral, by how the 3 new players were all fitting in on the team.
Mark DeRosa, we laughed before the game. He said, for a guy who's so good in the clubhouse and such a great guy and got a reputation with all these people, Oral, you talk about it, and I had him in Texas as the pitching coach. He said, why am I on my 5th club?
Off the glove of Wolf, trouble now. Everybody is safe.
Oral, they practice this a lot during spring training during the course of the year. Pitcher's fundamental practice. Ground ball came back to him, and he kind of reaches for the ball. You see Carpenter kind of takes the outside breaking ball, hits it off the end of the bat, and Wolf tries to get it on a short hop and kicks it away, and the ball spin takes it to Casey Blake. Blake not able to make the play, gets the big kick on it. Watch the spin as the ball moves away from him. Blake comes in, but it's rolling too hard to get a grip on it barehanded. Carpenter reaches first safely.
Rick Honeycutt to the mound now. The pitching coach. Oral, is that a play that Wolf has to make?
Yeah, that's one that you really want to make. And you know what? When it's first hit at you, you expect it to be there. And then when it's a little slower, you're like, oh, I should have charged it. And that dirt on the mound where your landing leg lands, that can get a little chewed up, and you don't always get a true hop. That's why you always want to try and charge the ball on the slower hit balls to the mound, because as a pitcher, you get into the grass where the hops are a lot better.
Well, the official score either agree that it was a tough hop or is a big fan of Chris Carpenter's, because that was scored a base hit for Carpenter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So 2 on with 2 out. It's now even at 7 apiece, but just 2-1 Cardinals. The Dodgers have left 7 men on, the Cardinals 6. Guillermo Mota is now throwing in the Dodger pen. Mota has been sensational for the Dodgers. 19 consecutive scoreless innings. He may be called upon soon. Here's Julio Lugo as Mota continues to get loose. Inside, ball 1.
The one base hit Julio Lugo had was on that sweeping breaking ball, a little slider in the outside part of the plate that he dove out there and hooked in the hole between Casey Blake and Rafael Furcal.
And you saw Randy Wolf start him out with a fastball in, maybe to kind of speed him up to be able to set that off-speed stuff up again.
Slider down and in, ball 2. Back-to-back 2-out hits. Again, taking into account that Carpenter's ball was won on a play that had to be made. Wolf now nearing 100 pitches. He's at 97. Lugo, bouncer back to the mound. Wolf's got this one. And the inning is over. Randy Wolf gets out of a jam just like Chris Carpenter's been doing all night long. Still 2-1. Well, Randy Wolf danced around some trouble all night long. The Cardinals have stranded 8 through 6 innings. Wolf has only given up 2 runs, but he trails as he is now out of the game. We go to the top of the 7th with the Cardinals leading 2-1. And Wolf will not hit. Juan Pierre will come up to bat in Wolf's place. As he talks it over with pitching coach Rick Honeycutt. Juan Pierre, such a big story for the Dodgers this year. During Manny Ramirez's 50-game suspension, he started all 50 games when Manny was out. Every single one of them in left field. He hit .318 during that time and stole 21 bases in those 50 games. And he also hit with a little bit more pop than he normally does. He had 14 doubles, drove in 21 runs. I mean, these are big-time numbers for Pierre, who has now been relegated again to 4th outfielder status behind Manny Ramirez, Matt Kemp, and Andre Ethier. Steve, kind of a tough spot for a guy who's been in the majors a long time.
Well, it really is, because nothing really changed about his game. Just what they wanted in their roster changed a little bit. But, you know, it's interesting sitting by their dugout here. Juan Pierre didn't sit too far from where I am in the dugout.
Bouncer to first, backs up Pujols, and Carpenter just in time to get the out. Time now for our game track, brought to you by Captain Morgan. And we begin with Matt Holliday in his first Busch Stadium at bat as a Cardinal with an RBI double to center with the first that gave St. Louis an early 1-0 lead. And one of the reasons why the Cardinals still lead, some solid defense tonight. They have turned 3 double plays, 2 of them off the bat of Manny Ramirez. And Ryan Ludwig has been a big factor in right field. Both of these catches coming in the same inning. An inning in which the Dodgers left the bases loaded. For Chris Carpenter, although not at his sharpest, still has the lead. Furcal tries to slap it past DeRosa, who's got it, and then can't unload the throw. To Cindy Brunson in the studio for an update.
Thanks, Dan. Checking in on the Brewers and the Nationals. Bottom 2, Corey Hart with his 11th home run of the season. Milwaukee's up 2-0 top 4. Brewers in the first of 7 games against NL worst Nationals and Padres. How about the Astros and the Cubs? NL best in the Central. Chicago looking to win a 5th straight. It's Derek Lee with his 20th of the season off Wandy Rodriguez. We're tied at 1 at Wrigley. Baseball tonight after you guys are done in St. Louis. Dan, back to you.
Cindy, thank you. This division, National League Central, is going to be a whole lot of fun the next couple of months with 4 teams separated by just 3 games. Orlando Hudson fouls it back.
And take a look at that approach by Rafael Furcal at the plate. And kind of turns and slashes at the ball and starts running as he goes. And Mark DeRosa, the quick reactions, gets to it, and then just can't quite get a grip to get it out of his glove, frustrated at himself, thinking I could have made a great play. But that sitting down here, that is the most striking thing to me, is the third base position. I know they call it the hot corner, but what an appreciation for how quickly the ball gets on him.
And with Furcal up there now, with a Hudson up there in various situations, Mark DeRosa is only about 80 feet away from the plate. So he has even less reaction time because he's playing in tight. Hudson has walked, been hit by a pitch, and had a bunt single. Throw to first, and the back is Furcal. Well, now, Orel, you've got the action going on your side of the field with the base runner and Furcal. Not as fast as he once was, but still a threat. Dodgers down a run here in the 7th.
And a pitcher that is struggling with his command still.
Down to Pujols, spins and fires to Ryan for one. Back to first. Double play number 4. Turned by the St. Louis Cardinals. Their defense is the biggest reason why they've got a lead in this game right now. Welcome back to Monday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Holiday Inn. Here at Busch Stadium, the opening game of a 4-game series between the Dodgers and the Cardinals. Good defense tonight, a 2-1 lead for the Cardinals in the 7th inning. Dan Shulman up here enjoying the suddenly spacious accommodations in the booth here at Busch Stadium, because Orel Hershiser and Steve Phillips are down on the field. Orel is just to the outside of the first base dugout. Steve just to the outside of the third base dugout as James McDonald comes into the game, the new pitcher for the Dodgers, taking over for Randy Wolf. Mark DeRosa, first pitch swinging high and deep, left center field, gone!
Well, good guy in the clubhouse, 15, deceiving power in a home run like that in a big game when the ace is struggling, but getting it done. And Ludwig and Wright is making great plays to keep him in the game. The first pitch he sees, he gets his foot down, and he just jams this one out to center field. Watch the swing here. The foot gets down, the separation between the front foot and the back hands, the stretch, and then the power of the hips.
5th home run in the last 7 games for Mark DeRosa. And it's 3-1 Cardinals here in the bottom of the 7th. This was a guy, I think, Steve, more than any other position player. Mark DeRosa was the guy everybody said, you know, what an addition he'd be to a contender, and it's come to fruition with the Cardinals.
Well, so many teams had interest in him, because if you needed a second baseman, well, he was your guy. If you needed a third baseman, he was your guy. If you needed a left fielder, well, Mark DeRosa's your guy. Now, he's played some first base for Tony La Russa as well. He may get a shot to play some right field as well, and that versatility goes a long way, particularly in the National League. Now you see as Matt Kemp tries to track that ball, and he runs out of room there, and a happy fan makes the catch, and happy teammates slapping high five after that one.
Changeup for a strike, 2-2 on Pujols.
Me and Rick Ankiel down here on my side, chatting away about that swing. Ankiel has hit a few of them here in St. Louis, taking some curtain calls. DeRosa having his first standing ovation. Boy, I got to get my head out of the way.
You're blocking the shot.
Sorry.
All that hair.
Orel's got that big
I'm
hair.
having a good hair day.
You got the high hair going today, man.
How do you decide whether that's a good hair day or not, Orel?
Well, I decide when I get to the mirror.
Pujols 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. The Cardinals, obviously, with the additions of most notably Holiday and DeRosa, they can win games more easily, even if Pujols doesn't have a big night, as he fouls off that curveball.
Steve, that's the first time I've seen the top of my head. I'm still glad I got hair. First time I've seen my hair. That's unbelievable. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to get this camera angle at home. It's all good. It's all good. Dan, I don't know if we're coming back up there.
That's fine.
Oh, that was too quick. Take time to think about it.
Fouled off again, just past Steve.
Yeah, I actually wasn't paying attention. I saw Jose Oquendo dart at me, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Be alive down there, fellas.
But, Albert Pujols right now has seen all of the pitches that James McDonald throws, and he's fouled them all off, so he's getting locked in now.
Well, he has seen fastballs at 96 and 97. He saw a changeup at 80 and slow curves down around 70.
And for Pujols, we know what he does when he can put it in play, but it's the spoiling of the pitcher's pitch that allows him to extend the at-bats.
Look at that. Wow. 79-mile-an-hour changeup off the plate. He just reaches out, pokes it into the outfield, thinking two, and out easily. Albert's been running very aggressively in recent weeks and has been thrown out on a number of occasions as he tries to stretch that single into a double.
With nobody out, you understand trying to go for two right there, but you got to be sure this pitch is so far out of the zone, but he covered the entire plate, and you can do that when you're thinking, I'm going to start to look for outside and then adjust if they come in. Matt Kemp comes up, and Orlando Hudson applies the tag very easily. Albert Pujols trying to be a little bit too aggressive right there, getting in scoring position with nobody out.
The thing that impressed me the most is how hard he hit that ball. With our new perspective down here in the low first and low third base area, Steve, I'm telling you what, he reached out and it was like, oh my gosh, how hard he hit that ball. Most guys of normal strength take a full swing to hit the ball that hard.
When you extend your arms away from your body as a hitter, you lose your power because you can't rotate as quickly. Pujols had his arm so far away from his body and still rifled that into center.
And you saw from Matt Kemp his 11th outfield assist already. So you got to be sure if you're going to run on him. Here's Matt Holliday, 1 for 2 with a walk. The one was an RBI double back in the first.
You know, guys, the play by Pujols, I mean, I understand the aggressiveness, but that was the sort of play you make 2 weeks ago when you don't have Matt Holliday in your lineup. Now you've got a guy that can slug and drive you in from first base. And because you have Ludwig hitting behind Holliday, you've got 2 guys there that you may be in scoring position when you're on first base. So applaud the aggressiveness, but I think he needs to be a little bit smarter than he was on that play.
Yeah, and he's over here looking at his teammates, shaking his head at everybody like, I know, I screwed up. He had that discipline in his last at bat when he took the changeup for a walk and passed the baton to Matt Holliday, but he didn't have the discipline after he got the hit, the adrenaline of getting on base. You got to remember, this guy has been going through a slump of late, an Albert Pujols slump. There is such a thing.
Let's take a look now at our one-a-day men's strikeout leaders for this week. And each of these 2 staffs represented by one of the top strikeout pitchers in the National League. Adam Wainwright's 5th. Chad Billingsley is 6th. For every strikeout this season, one-a-day men's and Major League Baseball will donate $10 to the Prostate Cancer Foundation. To date, the program has raised over $200,000. And Wainwright and Billingsley, 2 reasons why these 2 teams are so excited about their pitching prospects. When you've got Wainwright, Carpenter, who's granted not had his A game tonight, and Joel Pinheiro, pretty good 1-2-3 for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bouncer to third. And safe at first as Blake's throw short hop Loney. Blake charged with an error as we go to Cindy Brunson in the studio.
Dan, thanks. Baseball Tonight update for you. Josh Beckett looking to improve to 7-0 at Fenway this season. He's on top of the A's. How about A.J. Burnett? Just 1 earned. He's 4-0 in his last 5 starts, and his Yankees have a big lead over the Rays at the Trop. And Curtis Granderson has hit his 20th home run of the season. His 3rd straight season with 20 or more home runs is what they'll be talking about on Baseball Tonight right after you guys are done in St. Louis. Dan, back to you.
And the Tigers, thanks to Granderson and others, the leaders in the AL Central, took 3 out of 4 from the White Sox over the weekend. Enter play tonight, 2 games up on Chicago, 4 games up on Minnesota. In the American League Central, here in the National League Central, the Cardinals a half game back of the Cubs entering play tonight. And the Cardinals leading in this game. Runner to first right now, Holliday reaching on the air, 1 out. The batter, Ryan Ludwig.
Take a look at Casey Blake on that last play. And, when infielders don't make good throws, it's their feet. His feet got a little bit lazy. He caught the ball, thought, I have got some time. Let me take my time. And his feet slowed down on him. You've got to keep that energy moving through the throw. And it caused him to short hop it.
High fly ball left center, but this one will stay in the park. Kemp there for out number 2. Holliday had gone halfway. He retreats to first. So With 2 down, that'll bring up Yadier Molina, who's 0 for 3. Joe Torre was anxious for this road trip. He felt when he looked at the opposing pitchers, the Cardinals and then the Braves would throw against the Dodgers, it would be like October. He thought this would be a great test for the Dodger offense. And tonight they have scored just 1 run, and they're the 3rd best offense in the National League in terms of runs per game on the season. The Cardinals come in 8th in runs per game in the National League.
Yeah, and they've caught Chris Carpenter on a night when it's really not his best stuff. Yadier Molina behind the plate has done a good job guiding him through an outing when he really doesn't know what Carpenter can execute.
McDonald to Molina, and a curveball drops into the knees.
And you've got to be a veteran manager if you look forward to a road trip where you're going to face Chris Carpenter and Adam Wainwright and then Jair Jurgens and Javier Vasquez. I mean, who looks forward to that? You can't look forward to that road trip. I don't want a test like that. I'd rather just beat up on guys who aren't so good.
Well, they're beaten up on the National League West this year. The Dodgers are 30-12 within their own division. But if you look at some of their other stats, come from behind wins, 1-run games. Steve, it seems the Dodgers, they've come up with the big moments. They've gotten the big hits so many times when they've needed that 1 hit to win a game. And is that the kind of thing that will continue, that you can count on the rest of the way? I mean, there are those who look at them and say, wow, best team in baseball. And there are others who look at the Dodgers and say, are they as good as their record would indicate they are?
Well, there's something magical going on about them, and they've gotten very, very good pitching, which is a good part of the equation. Their defense, they tend to make plays when they need to. They're not perfect, but they tend to make plays, and they've come up with some big hits. So the formula is a good one, and I think they're going to get better before the trade deadline's over.
Go down, and back just in time was Holiday. A little bit slow reacting to the fact that Russell Martin was stepping out from behind the plate.
And Russell Martin said, if Yadier Molina can do it, then I can do it too, Oral.
A little high fastball pitch out, actually, and he gets out there. He doesn't really think he's coming, casual, and he ends up a little bit over 1 stride left of the bag, so he had to reach for it. And on the corner there, his toe kind of rotates over and tweaks his ankle. You see him glancing in there for the sign. But he arrived at first base on a nonchalant play by Casey Blake, and he almost got himself picked off with a little nonchalant trying to get back to first base. Russell Martin doing a nice job. See him shaking his arm there, maybe gunning that ball down there, kind of tweak something in his shoulder.
Holiday resumes his lead at first. 2 balls, 2 strikes as Holiday checks out James McDonald, the Dodger pitcher. Holiday will steal a base. And he draws a throw.
James McDonald, young man with outstanding stuff, and we've seen him show all of it in this game so far. In the Albert Pujols at bat, we saw every pitch in his repertoire.
Well, he has struggled as a starter, an 8.78 ERA in his 4 starts, but in relief, a 2.50 ERA. Sometimes as a starter, young men have trouble waiting those 4 days. The anxiety builds, the anticipation of that start. That's part of being a veteran and just learning to calm yourself down and do your work. That quick phone call in the bullpen, the adrenaline burst sometimes works better to conquer those fears and anxiety of early big league days.
2-2 pitch, fouled out of play off to the right.
Well, the Dodgers organization was always famous for bringing their young pitchers up to the major leagues, putting them in middle relief, and then letting them graduate either to the front of the game or the back of the game. Do you like that approach, Walt?
I really do. I think that's a great place to get your feet wet. You know, you can choose the innings as managers and pitching coaches where to bring them along. In blowouts, either you're way up or you're way down, and then you slowly bring them into pressure situations by eliminating runs. As far as a 5-run lead, now you can try a 3-run lead.
Full count. And now Holiday will get a running start from first. Loney's going to come off the bag, it looks like. Looking across the field, trying to decide what exactly Joe Torre wants him to do. Now Loney will play behind the runner. (3-1) Cardinals, bottom of the 7th. Runner goes, 3-2 pitch is low, ball 4. First and second, 2 down. Left-hand hitting Rick Ankiel coming up. Looks like Joe Torre might make a move with the lefty Brent Leach up in the pen. And there's the signal. So a pitching change here in St. Louis. The lefty is on his way in with the Cardinals already leading by 2 here in the 7th. Always a festive atmosphere here at Busch Stadium, especially when the Cardinals are leading, and they're up 3-1 in the 7th right now. Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn, and a reminder that E60 returns to ESPN Tuesday nights. First, Vince Young sits down for the first time to talk with Michael Smith about his tumultuous year, including the murder of his friend and mentor, Steve McNair, and also the allegations that Young attempted suicide last September. E60 reporter Tom Ferry reports on Anna Rawson. Could she help save women's golf? And you have seen it on YouTube, and SportsCenter E60 goes inside the insanity of the centuries-old tradition of chasing the cheese. E60 Tuesday nights on ESPN as left-hander Brent Leach comes in.
Understand, chasing the cheese takes place on Cooper's Hill in Gloucestershire, England. Looking forward to that.
How he gets that information
come on, Steve.
down in the third base camera well is beyond me.
Versatility. I'm the Mark DeRosa of his telecast.
Leach on to face Rick Ankiel. Have you no self-respect, Mr. Phillips? Have you no shit?
No, I have none. Really, none. Zero.
A run in this inning on the home run by Mark DeRosa. Now 2 on, 2 out. Lefty against lefty. Leach and Ankiel. And a long look in from Leach before he and Martin can get together on the side. Fastball, high strike, 0-1. The Dodger bullpen is seen as a spot where if they are going to make a move, it could be there. Generally speaking, the pitching staff, but if they can't go out and get that big-time starter, maybe they add a little depth to their pen. They've got Ronald Belisario on the DL right now. They did get Hong-Chi Kuo back tonight, just activated. A lefty who's had multiple surgeries, but when he's in there, he's got nasty stuff. He's an effective guy.
Hong-Chi Kuo has great stuff. I mean, he has strikeout stuff. We saw that last year, and you start thinking about, well, what relievers are available. One of the things we've heard is that the Dodgers have some interest in Aaron Harang and David Weathers of the Cincinnati Reds, as the Reds have kind of fallen out of the race. Now we're also hearing that maybe George Sherrill from the Baltimore Orioles, Danny Baez from the Baltimore Orioles. So there are some relievers out there. I think there's going to be more relievers available in the trade market than there are starting pitchers right now. That starting pitchers market has dried up a little bit. The Reds could be a wild card. Bronson Arroyo and Aaron Harang possibly could be wild cards in the trade market.
Ankiel yanks it into right field, a base hit. Holiday around third, and he will score without a throw. 4-1 Cardinals.
We talked so much about how Randy Wolf, the starter, was tough on left-handers. Ankiel had already had a base hit off of him. He's only hitting .231 coming into the game off of lefties, but 2 hits tonight versus left-handed pitchers. Does a good job reaching out for a ball that K-Zone tells us and still pulling it. Surprised he can still get under that ball. I would think that would have been a routine ground ball to second. Andre Ether, a little trouble getting out of his glove, but Matt Holliday with 2 outs going on contact. No chance to throw him out at home.
And that is all for Leach. Joe Torre right back to the pen for the right-hander Guillermo Mota, with Brendan Ryan due up. The Cardinals have tacked on a couple of runs here in the bottom of the 7th on a home run by DeRosa, an RBI single by Ankiel. 4-1 St. Louis. Mota on his way in. Back in St. Louis, the Cardinals hold a 4-1 lead over the Dodgers. We're in the bottom of the 7th, and a chance to remind you about more Major League action on ESPN this coming week. First catch Wednesday Night Baseball presented by Smirnoff Ice at 7 Eastern. It's the Yankees and the Rays. And then Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. These very Dodgers will be down in Atlanta to take on the Braves. The scheduled pitching matchup is a dandy. Chad Billingsley and Jair Jurgens. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Well, what a story this guy has been in recent weeks for the Dodgers. The overall numbers are very good. The recent numbers are staggering, as Mota has pitched 19 consecutive scoreless innings over his last 15 appearances, and going back even further, he's given up 1 earned run in his last 33 innings. And he's become even more important with Ronald Belisario on the DL. First and second, 2 down. Brendan Ryan is already 3 for 3 in this game. 2 singles to left, 1 single to right.
I think even more importantly than the singles are the double plays that he started. Exceptional defense behind Chris Carpenter.
Carpenter is out in the on-deck circle right now as Ryan has his 4th hit of the night. This one into right center. Molina's going to score. And Keel's getting the wave around third. And will score without a throw on a 2-run double that blows it open for the Cardinals.
Well, Brendan Ryan very aggressive with runners on base. You see that high fastball tailing in. Does a good job lifting up on it, getting on top, driving that ball. That's just a line drive that rolls. That's got some good carry. Matt Kemp trying to cut it off. Does everything he can, but those 3 or 4 extra steps really allows Ryan to get to second base, but even more importantly, allows Rick Ankiel and Yadier Molina to come around and score.
And Chris Carpenter is going to hit. Up 6-1 here in the bottom of the 7th, the 4-run inning for the Cardinals. And as we retrace the inning, how big was that error on Casey Blake earlier this inning?
A little nonchalant with his feet over there, and this at bat for Chris Carpenter will get him back into the rhythm of the game. But Casey Blake, I'm sure it is just eating him up back there. But this long rest with all these runs, you enjoy it as a starter.
Shallow right, and the catch made by Ethier to win the inning. But the Cardinals get 4 runs, and Chris Carpenter will take a 5-run lead to the 8th.
ESPN Monday Night Baseball is presented by Holiday Inn. Stay 8 nights and score 2 MLB tickets. And in part by the new Quiznos Toasty Torpedo, only $4. Quiznos, toasty.
On to the 8th inning. Here in St. Louis, the Cardinals with 4 in the bottom of the 7th. They're up 6-1 in the opening game of this 4-game series as Chris Carpenter misses for ball 1, missed with a curveball to Manny Ramirez, who's been getting booed all night long and who has thrilled the St. Louis fans by going 0 for 3, including 2 double play ground balls. It's the slider down and away, 2 balls and no strikes on Manny. Chris Carpenter nearing 100 pitches, has not been at his sharpest. A lot of base runners, but when he's needed the big ground ball, he has gotten the big ground ball time and time again. Ramirez lines one into left center, a base hit and more as it'll get all the way to the fence. And Manny with his first hit of the night, a leadoff double here in the 8th. But as we talked about, Oral Carpenter's really gotten out of trouble when he's needed to tonight.
Well, one of the things on an ace's resume is they battle without their best stuff, and you don't abandon your core pitch, which is the 2-seamer. In the first, he gets a double play on Manny. In the second, he gets a double play with Russell Martin with the 2-seamer. In the 5th, he gets a double play on a 2-seamer on Manny again. And then in the 7th, a 2-seamer to the O-Dog, a ground ball down to Albert Pujols, 3-6 to 3. The man has not been on his game, but he's an ace, and he's battled, and he's still unpredictable.
And he might be done as Tony La Russa's on his way to the mound. Kyle McClellan started throwing as Carpenter went to the mound this half inning. Left-hander Trevor Miller is up as well. Carpenter wants to stay. This might not be a done deal. And it's over. Manager won again. So Carpenter will get a big ovation, a standing ovation here at Busch Stadium. Looking for win number 9 on the season. Carpenter is out as Tony La Russa goes to his pen. Well, what someone like Oral Hershiser would call a gutty performance tonight by Chris Carpenter. Clearly early on without his best stuff, but got the big ground balls as we showed you when he needed them tonight. Got 4 double play balls, and he leaves here in the 8th inning with Manny Ramirez at second. His responsibility with the Cardinals up 6-1. Left-hander Trevor Miller comes in. A specialist, just 1 or 2 batters usually in appearance, but very, very tough on left-handed batters this year, who are just 7 for 60 against him on the season. And the breaking ball drops in for a strike on the left-hand hitting Andre Ethier.
Yeah, Dan, you say a specialist. He only went an inning in the 3rd 3 times this year. So normally just 1 or 2 batters.
Ooh.
That's why he's tough on lefties right there. That is a big sweeping breaking ball. His release points coming from right field. You think you're on it, and you just extend and reach for it and have no chance. That's a good hitter taking a swing like that.
Miller might get 3 batters here because 2 batters away is another lefty in James Loney. The slider again, and he went around, says Jeff Kellogg. Ethier can't believe it. He says ask down at third at least, but Kellogg is confident he could make the call by himself.
Well, same sweeping pitch. You see Yadier Molina set up, and Ethier comes around, and from that angle looks like he might have held that bat head up a little bit, but he may have crossed the plate with it.
That's your angle right there, Steve. What did it look like to you?
I thought he went around when he did earlier, but on that front angle on the check swing, it looked like he had held up a little bit, but I think there again from the side it did look like he crossed the plate.
Dodgers now 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight as Casey Blake steps in and takes inside ball 1.
Were they screaming in the Dodger dugout at all? Was there any reaction from the players?
You know, they're quiet over here. A lot of young guys, and they're like a little bit quiet, whether it's the first part of a road trip that they're feeling it or what, but not a lot of yelling out of this dugout here. Now, Larry Bowa tends to take care of a lot of that out on the third baseline as the third base coach. You know, watching Larry Bowa, he never stops moving. He never stops eating seeds and spitting seeds, and he gets frustrated when things don't go right. A lot of energy coming out of Larry Bowa.
Juan Pierre seems to have settled in right alongside you for the night, huh?
Yeah, we're hanging. We're chilling. We're not. We can't talk to each other.
Right.
But it's this bond we feel.
I got somebody more my age group over here. I got Jose Akendo. So he's over here signaling the infielders all the time.
I thought you might have Red Chandies.
Takes care of all the guys here. That's not Rain Chandies. Wow. That's Jose Akendo. They're playing an outstanding defensive game tonight, Steve. He should get a lot of the credit.
Well, 4 double plays. His infielders are getting it done.
2-2 the count on Blake. And you can see Blake flinching there, wasn't sure if he should commit or not. The arm angle of Miller is proven to be a little bit difficult and confusing right now for these Dodger hitters. 6-1 Cardinals in the 8th. Strike 3 called, 2 down. Back to the studio and Cindy Brunson.
Dan, thanks. In-game update, checking in on the Brewers and the Nationals top 5. Jeff Suppan has to turn and watch it fly off the bat of Josh Willingham, his 3rd career grand slam, home run number 15 on the season. Nationals with a 6-run 5th. They're on top 6-3 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Baseball tonight after you guys are done in St. Louis. Dan, back to you.
Well, Suppan, Cindy, has struggled for most of the season. Remains to be seen whether the Brewers go out and make another big splash, maybe not to the level they did last year when they got CC Sabathia. Josh Willingham, meanwhile, is a guy a lot of teams are reportedly interested in. A strike taken by James Loney. Trevor Miller came on with a runner at second, nobody out. Struck out Andre Ethier. Struck out Casey Blake. And now he jumps ahead of James Loney. Just low. Kyle McClellan up at the Cardinal pen. The inning should continue. A couple of righties due up after Loney, so it's likely Tony La Russa would make another move. Inside, 2-1.
One of the first scouting missions I took when I joined the Mets front office was to go to Lexington, Kentucky to watch Trevor Miller as a young high school kid pitching, and my projection of him was he'd be a setup left-hander specialist, holding left-handed hitters to a 7 for 60.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's now 7 for 61.
Right. You know what? I'm on the conservative side.
Yeah. Did he have the same arm angle then as he does now?
No, you know, he didn't. He was more conventional, but I think that as time goes by, you know, left-handers seem to develop a little bit later, and they find that ability. If you can throw that breaking ball and at least get the left-handers out, you've got a chance to stick around the game for a long time, as he has.
Outside, full count.
The joke around the locker room is left-handed in a heartbeat. You have a chance to get to the big leagues. A breaking ball doesn't hurt, though, does it, Steve?
No, I tell you what, a left-hander with a breaking ball, you know, can stick around. I mean, because you can get the big sweeping breaking ball over and get a swing and a miss from a big left-handed hitter.
Remember, my dad played with Paul Ossenmacher, and he had the big yacker.
Chris Carpenter gave up the double to Manny Ramirez, then left earlier this inning. The pitcher of record looking for win number 9.
Remember, he had that long rest of all the runs they scored.
Outside, ball 4. The inning will continue and probably force the hand of Tony La Russa, unless he decides because of the 5-run lead he'll stay with the Miller for another batter. Nope, here he comes. He wants the righty into McClellan to face the right-hand hitting Russell Martin. So we'll step aside for another pitching change here in St. Louis. The Cardinals looking for that last out here in the 8th inning. Back in the top of the 8th here in St. Louis, Cardinals 6, Dodgers 1. As we take a look at our game-changing moment now brought to you by Holiday Inn. And it was back in the 4th inning. The Dodgers had men on base all night long, it seemed, but Casey Blake with a fly ball to right field, a diving catch by Ryan Ludwig down the line, and then one batter later, James Loney takes Ludwig back to the fence, and he makes another good catch. The Dodgers would wind up leaving the bases loaded that inning. They really struggled hitting with the men on base and runners in scoring position tonight. One of the big reasons why they are trailing 6-1 here in the 8th. They've got 2 men on right now, but 2 down. As Kyle McClellan comes on for the 41st time this season. Good solid numbers for McClellan out of the Cardinal pen as he faces Russell Martin. 1 for 2 and also hit by a pitch. And a fastball is drilled into the knees for a called strike.
Russell Martin was at the plate. Don Mattingly called him over. They're making the pitching change and talked about what his pitch selection, pitch options are. And McClellan, 0.86 batting average with his curveball this year. It's his put away pitch.
Fastball again, 0-2.
Don Mattingly in the dugout here, and he's pulled the guys over. The next 2 hitters, Russell Martin, Matt Kemp, talking to him. Preparation, that's the key. Now, he's taken a couple of fastballs up in the zone here, and he's put himself in a real hole.
Well, in his day, one of the great hitters back in the 80s. Hit for power, doubles all over the place, hit for average. Back trouble really curtailing his career, or who knows what kind of numbers Don Mattingly would have put up. For a few years, as tough and out as there was in baseball. Martin waits on it and lines it softly into right field. Manny Ramirez will be held at third. Good throw into the plate on a bounce by Ludwig. A strike there, and the bases are loaded with 2 outs.
Well, the hanging breaking ball right here gets McClellan in trouble. He gets ahead, comes in out of the bullpen, throwing strikes with the fastball. But he throws his first breaking ball, his out pitch, and he just overthrows it and leaves it up. Russell Martin did a great job coming around, and Larry Bowa at third base knows that that run is not the important run. When you're down by 5, you've got to get a lot more than that. As late as it is, even here in the 8th, squeaking 1 out now is no big deal. You got to go for a big crooked number.
And here comes Tony La Russa again. And there is activity in the pen, and he's going to make the move. He's going to bring his closer in here in the 8th inning. So Kyle McClellan faces only 1 batter because he can't get out of the inning. It is technically now a save situation with a tying run in the on-deck circle. Tony La Russa is going to use his 4th pitcher of the inning. Matt Kemp will face Ryan Franklin.
Baseball tonight, update Tigers Rangers top 5. Tigers up 1-0. Miguel Cabrera goes down swinging with the bags full. Bottom 5, Nelson Cruz a swinging and drive, and his 24th of the season. It's up Armando Galarrago, and then Hank Blaylock steps in with 2 aboard in the bottom of the 6th, and as a result, Texas is up 4-1 in the bottom of the 7th. Baseball tonight, right after you guys are done in St. Louis. Dan, back to you.
I give the Rangers a lot of credit. 12 games over 500 coming into play tonight. Still trying to chase down the Angels or stay in the wild card hunt in the American League. Here the Cardinals with a 6-1 lead, but the Dodgers have loaded the bases here in the 8th inning with 2 outs, and we're about to see the 4th different St. Louis pitcher of the inning. And Oral, it is the closer for the Cardinals, Ryan Franklin, an all-star for the first time in his career this year. And look at those numbers. I mean, just a sensational year so far for Franklin.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. And if you're thinking about inherited runners, he's stranded 12 out of 13. So he has come into situations with runners, not started every inning with his own tally. And he has faced Kemp once, and that 1-for-1 Matt Kemp is off of him.
Kemp has had a lot of success this year with the bases loaded. 3 grand slams. Only Pujols has hit more this year, as Franklin starts him with a strike. So from Carpenter to Miller to McClellan, now to Franklin here in the 8th inning. Tony La Russa not wanting to take any chances. And again, this is a save situation because the tying run is in the on-deck circle as Franklin enters the game. 22 for 24 in save situations on this season. Outside, a ball and a strike.
I think you probably say to yourself, well, why would he bring his closer in right now? I know they have a rally going, but why use him here? Well, he has not pitched since July 22nd. So I think Tony La Russa realizing he's going to use him no matter what tonight. So why not bring him in a game-critical situation in the 8th and then have him come back out in the 9th inning?
Mark Loretta on deck should the inning continue to bat in the pitcher spot. Kemp with a roller down to third. Inning over. The Dodgers have left 10 men on in this game. The Cardinals still lead by 5. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. They're on this warm summer night in St. Louis with the Cardinals. They blew it open in the 7th. Got 4 runs, including a home run by Mark DeRosa, a big 2-run double by Brendan Ryan. They lead 6-1 in the bottom of the 8th, trying to take the opening game of this big 4-game series. And a new pitcher for the Dodgers just activated off the disabled list today after some arm trouble. Left-hander Hong Chi Kuo, great arm, trouble staying healthy. But when he's on, he can really help the Dodgers in that pen as Russell Martin goes out to talk to him. And all night long, we've had Oral Hershiser down to the camera well just beyond the first base dugout. Steve Phillips in the camera well just beyond the third base dugout. Oral, kind of tie a bow on this for us, if you would. What's it been like being down there for a game?
It's been a great perspective for me, especially looking into the Cardinal dugout, watching the relationships, the camaraderie, watching Jose Oquendo position the infielders in that with a great defense tonight, and then watching Chris Carpenter struggle with his mechanics but still having a downhill plane on the ball.
You know, for me, I think over the third base side, a lot of balls hit to the left side of the infield tonight, and it really gives you an appreciation of how quick this game is played at the major league level and how quick you have to react on the left side of the field. And the other thing for me was striking how quickly the third base coaches have to make decisions, taking into account where the ball's hit, the arm strength of the outfielder, the cutoff man, the relay man, and the depth and perception of where the base runner's on the bases. So very interesting to watch the game down here tonight.
So we're all on board to do this again?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at you, all big guy up in the box.
Lots of space.
You know what? It's a nice workspace down here, too.
We get along very well when we're not actually in the same area. High fly ball to left off the bat of Lugo, and Manny is there to put it away, 1 down. Getting booed even when he catches a fly ball. Boy, for nice fans here in Middle America, they have not been very excited about hosting Manny Ramirez here tonight.
Well, Manny, when he was on third base and they made a pitching change, came in the dugout, sat down a little bit, hanging out with his buddies, and then at the inning break, he waited till the very last second to get back out on the field, probably because of the hecklers a little bit, probably because he's tired.
Mark DeRosa takes a strike. A good night for DeRosa, including a home run in the 7th inning, his 5th in the last 7 days. I got some news. Peter Pasquarelli, Steve, telling us the Giants have just made a deal. They just picked up Ryan Garco from Cleveland for a minor leaguer. And the Giants, they were in the hunt, but they desperately need some offense. Maybe Garco can help them.
Interesting move there. I think there was a lot of thought they'd be in on Nick Johnson and maybe an Aubrey Huff there, but maybe the asking price kept hearing was a little bit too high. So Ryan Garco moving out there, getting a chance to play some first base. You take a look at DeRosa on the swing and the foul tip, and you want to be a catcher, and sometimes it hurts. That can knock you silly.
It's amazing how light those masks are nowadays. The old metal masks that kind of pull on your face there, but that one, a composite.
DeRosa with a 2-hopper to short for Call. With plenty of time to get him 2 down. Well, coming up in the next week on ESPN on Wednesday night at 7 Eastern. It'll be the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays trying to make a charge and overtake either the Yankees or the Red Sox, or both in the American League East. Sunday Night Baseball from Atlanta. The Dodgers will be there to take on the Braves, and then a week from tonight, we will be in Cincinnati for the Cubs and the Reds. The Cubs entering play tonight as the first place team in the Central. They had won 10 of their last 13 and entered play tonight a half game ahead of the Cardinals. The Cubs are tied at 1 with the Astros in the 8th inning in their game. Albert Pujols 1 for 3 with a walk.
A good sign for the Dodgers with Quo on the mound. He looks like he's throwing free and easy. Velocity looks good. He's had 2 quick outs, and that'll bring some depth back to that Dodger bullpen, especially from the left side. Joe Torre interested to see how his team performs over these next 20 games.
Pujols pops it up. Blake there, and that is all for the Cardinals. 3 up, 3 down they go, and that means we're going to the 9th. The Cardinals 3 outs away from a victory. Ryan Franklin got the last out of the 8th inning, and the St. Louis closer is back out there to work tonight. The Cardinals are up 6-1. The big story tonight, Chris Carpenter getting all those ground balls. Great defense behind him. They turned 4 double plays, and the Cardinals broke it open with 4 in the bottom of the 7th, with Brendan Ryan and Mark DeRosa coming up with the big hits. Mark Loretta will come up as a pinch hitter in Hong-Chi Kuo's spot to lead off the 9th inning. Then for Call and Hudson. The Dodgers, as we mentioned, near the beginning of a very difficult stretch. No off days. 20 games in 20 days, all against teams that are contenders. This is the first game of a 7-game road trip that'll take them to Atlanta at the end of the week, including the Sunday night game. Joe Torre knows it's going to be a real test for his team. Loretta, first pitch swinging, fly ball shallow center, 1 down. Back to the studio for an update.
Dan, thanks. Cindy Brunson here with this wild card leading Rockies looking to win a 3rd straight, visiting the Mets. Bottom 8, they're no longer loaded. Fernando Tatis with his 2nd Grand Slam this season, 8th career. New York on top 7-3. Astros and Cubs are tied at a run apiece at Wrigley, and the Nationals have a 3-run lead on the Brewers at Miller Park. Something all the baseball tonight guys will be talking about as soon as you guys wrap things up in St. Louis. Dan, back to you.
All right, Cindy, thank you. Rafael Furcal up for the Dodgers. Fans may remember Fernando Tatis once hit 2 grand slams in the same inning, and it came against the Dodgers. Chan Ho Park was on the mound. Curveball for a strike. April 23rd, 1999, I am told, is when Tatis had the 2 slams in the same inning.
Good memory, Dan.
All's fair, Mr. Phillips.
Wow.
If you can chase the cheese, I can give a baseball fact.
Cooper's Hill, Gloucester, England, chasing the cheese.
One of the hardest parts about being away from Steve is that I have to bring all my supplies now, the whiteout and all the highlighters. I used to just rob from his case.
Yeah. The big trunk he carries along behind him. 6-1 Cardinals in the 9th. 1-2 to Furcal, and he fouls it off and injured himself on that play. His left hand, maybe left arm.
Now looked like he swung the ball, went straight down to the ground, bounced back up. Looked like he might have got himself in the hand, wrist, or forearm there. Came right up. Looked like he got his hand.
Hand had come off the bat.
A little better look right there. Ball comes right up. Yeah, it looked like he got him on the funny bone of the elbow there. That hurts.
That wasn't one of the 3 options when you started.
No, you know, it expanded. I kind of went up the arm a little bit.
Such an important piece of the puzzle for the Dodgers. So good last year until the back trouble cost him most of the season. And he responds by lining a ball into left field for a base hit. His 3rd hit of the night. Now here in St. Louis, we tried to bring you a different perspective tonight, as Oral and Steve have both been down at field level. Oral beyond the first base dugout, Steve beyond the third base dugout. Been a lot of fun as you guys have seen things. Some things have felt a little bit different for you guys down there tonight.
It has been a little different. You know, the speed of the game, as Steve has talked about, the angles that you could see from this area, and, you know, just watching the players adjust and seeing the relationships behind me in this St. Louis Cardinal dugout.
You know, it's interesting. I thought there'd be more chatter in the dugout than there has been. So I've been a little bit surprised by that. But I also think that the defense, Brendan Ryan for me, has really stuck out tonight in this game. Very quick feet, very quick hands, and quick release on the double plays. He's a guy that really, I think, is an important piece for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And Brendan Ryan quickly in the mind of Tony La Russa becoming one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. 4 hits tonight. And came into camp. It looked like he's kind of just a utility guy. Khalil Green was supposed to be the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals. The runner was going as Hudson bounces it foul. But Green is on the DL for the 2nd time this year, trying to battle an anxiety disorder. And Brendan Ryan has moved in at shortstop, and it looks like he's not going anywhere.
Very quick feet, good hands, and he plays with aggression. I mean, you want your middle infielders to go for the ball. Don't let the ball come to you and play you. And he really attacks it defensively.
What are we thinking of the mustaches, though, that the Cardinals are sporting these days?
I don't know about them. I saw Wainwright over here. He's got his going. We'll see.
If they win?
If they win, exactly.
You like it. If you like it, if they win.
Hudson fouls it back.
It's going to be a frustrating night for the Dodgers. I'll tell you what, Rick Ankiel came through and got some hits, a lefty on left with Wolf, and then the Dodgers, as many men as they left on base, they got a good effort from Randy Wolf. Another, he had 7 no decisions where he'd handed them possible wins. Here he only handed them a 2-1 deficit, and they're still not going to have a good game for him.
You're the Dodgers coming into this game and say we get that many base runners on against Chris Carpenter, you got to like your chances because he's so difficult to hit. But they had their opportunities. But it's really a credit to Carpenter. He always seemed to make that big pitch when he needed to.
And he had him up there. You had him on the ropes, and they had the right guy up a lot of times. Manny Ramirez is up there twice.
4 double plays plus 2 very good catches by Ludwig out in right field. Huge defense tonight for the Cardinals. Ground ball to first. Pujols will get the lead runner on the force at second. 2 down.
For the Dodgers tonight, the one hitter in the lineup that had decent numbers against Chris Carpenter was Manny Ramirez, but Carpenter went down with that 2-seam fastball, got the 5-4-3 double play early, and then got that fastball up in the zone inside a little bit. An outstanding double play. Brendan Ryan to Julio Lugo to Albert Pujols. That was some kind of double play right there, getting the ball in and out of the glove from Brendan Ryan. So Albert Pujols in the past had gotten to Chris Carpenter a little bit, but not tonight.
Manny Ramirez booed again as he steps into 1 for 4. Double to left center his last time up after grounding into 2 double plays earlier tonight. 5 for 12, as you can see, with a couple of home runs in his career against Franklin. And a strike. Wednesday night, Yankees and Rays. Sunday night, Dodgers and Braves. A week from tonight, we'll be in Cincinnati. The Cubs and the Reds, as the races heat up all around baseball. Strike 2. Franklin wasn't even assured of being the closer at the beginning of the season. And Jason Mott, also Chris Perez, who was traded to Cleveland in the DeRosa deal. And they both stumbled a little bit at the beginning of the year. Franklin seized the job, and he's had one of the best seasons of any closer in baseball so far this year, trying to put away Manny Ramirez and end the game. And he will. The Cardinals, for the moment, moving to a tie with the Cubs atop the National League Central, pending the outcome of the Cubs game tonight. And Oral, Chris Carpenter, and you've got to admire what he did without his best stuff tonight.
He was battling the double play balls. He didn't abandon his 2-seamer when he needed to make a pitch. The curveball kept him in line, but the ace got him his 9th win.
How about the Cardinals' 3 acquisitions to take pressure off Albert Pujols? Julio Lugo, Mark DeRosa, Matt Holliday, all 3 drove in runs and keys to the offense for the Cardinals tonight.
So while the hits were even at 11 apiece, the final score favored the Cardinals. They beat the Dodgers by a score of 6-1 in the opening game of this 4-game series tonight and moved to 54-48 on the season. Baseball Tonight is coming up next here on ESPN. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Steve Phillips and Oral Hershiser down on the field, This is Dan Schulman thanking you for joining us tonight as the Cardinals beat the Dodgers 6-1. Coming up right now, baseball tonight as we send it back to Carl Ravitch, Eduardo Perez, Chris Singleton, and Peter Gammons. Fellas.